Honeni Elohim, Honeni Elohim, Kehasteha, Krov Rekameka Meke Feshai, Hasheva Lasason, Isheha, Hasheva Lasason. Days have turned into months, months into years, and after more than 300 years, Yosef and his salvation of Mizraim have been all but forgotten. The cries and prayers of the Israelites now turn to the Holy One and his throne. Honeni Elohim.
Hey!
There we are, man.
Hello, man. Look who's sitting right next to me. Can y'all believe this
There's
right
no
now?
there's no divider right here, right?
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I can't like bring you out and in and out of the
I know, guys.
If you leave, I can't,
I'm here, right?
Yeah, I know. This is crazy.
That's all right.
Okay, so we are so excited to do this actually live together on one side of the screen.
Yeah.
Whether or not you guys appreciate it, we're getting a kick out of it.
We're pretty excited. Yeah. This is awesome, man. Live from in Fiducia's daughter's bedroom. There we go. Yeah.
That's true. That is a very true statement. Jeff actually rearranged things so that there wouldn't be 50 stuffed animals and pink curtains right behind us for the background, because that's what it was starting to look like it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Man, so what like a perfect epic ending
this has been
for the series.
This has been so cool. This has been so cool. Yeah. So Miranda and I just drove a little over 3 hours to get here. We just got here, man. We just welcomed. Awesome to meet you guys in person. Showed us around. This guy's got lamb on the barbecue pit in the back, smoking it up right now. So we're getting ready for a Passover dinner of epic proportions.
Yeah. So, we've got all kinds of stuff. We got some stuff from Israel. We got some things from Turkey. We got some Middle Eastern stuff, some little snacks and treats and wine and things like that.
Yeah.
And we're about to make a day of it.
Yeah, we're really excited, and we're excited to be here with you guys. What an incredible journey! How awesome is it that we're able to be with all these people through this whole thing, and today on Pesach about to go right in. This is awesome.
I know.
This is perfect.
I thought we weren't going to do videos this weekend, and then it just kind of fit nicely. It was like, you know what? It would be kind of perfect to do a little bit a non-burdened video,
non-burdened,
exciting,
absolutely,
and everything like that.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a little bit chill today, I think, a little bit, but we're going to try to finish up this epic study.
Yeah,
my hat is off to any of you who have actually listened through the whole series, whether you caught it live or not. If you went back and caught all those videos, I think I counted like 24 hours, for not including today. I think it's a little over 24 hours.
Wow.
So I mean, it's one of those like
I've been uploading these to our channel. I usually give it a week to make sure people see it first on Take on the World TV, and then I've been uploading. I'm still getting comments on our channel. People are just amazed. They've already watched it over on Take on the World. Now they're coming over to the Way Remnant, watching it again, and they're like, Jeff, we're getting so much out of this, and truly, this has been a great study. I can't tell the listener how much study that not only that we've done, but going into different ministries and going and grabbing different ideas, and really trying to bring that home, because man, there is so much to this. I can't think humbly. I can't think of another resource that really brings all of these aspects. I mean, we've got tons and tons of different resources and people, and coming in. This is just great. So I've appreciated it. I'm glad. I'm glad you talked to me about doing this series rather quickly, if I remember right. Yeah. It was. Hey, Jeff, we're gonna do this series. You cool with it? And by the way, we need to start tomorrow night.
Yeah. Oh man, I couldn't believe that. Yeah. Jeff's like, all right, we'll go ahead and do the outline then. So I do the outline. I call him back. I say, hey man, we're looking at 7 videos in a matter of less than 4 weeks. Yeah. We're talking 2 heavy videos a week starting tomorrow.
Yeah. And so we had a lot of time to prepare for that.
That was intense. Yeah. I know that first video was. Oh man, I was anxious about that.
That was good. It was good. So let's maybe get into it. Oh, can I?
Go ahead.
Can I show something that?
Go for it.
Okay, so guys, we show up, and I was blessed today with an awesome gift, guys. Look at this.
It's not the giveaway mug that I brought up in the other videos.
Check it out.
For anybody who was worried about that.
Check it out. One of a kind. Bam.
Look at that.
Way Remnant, guys. Oh,
yeah,
dude, man. Can
Wayne Remnant with the GNG 144 with the Take on the World. This is like
This is
an
awesome.
Exodus series mug right here.
Can I give you a hug on that?
Sorry,
Oh,
man.
Oh, brother,
Yeah.
this is awesome stuff, man. I
See,
appreciate it.
I didn't tell Jeff this, but the real reason we got this is because we really thought he might drink out of the giveaway cup. So we said, no, we got to get him his own cup. We got to get him his own.
I still might.
No,
might.
We're not gonna let it happen. We're not gonna let it happen. No, but we were real excited about that. And Alicia was like, man, we gotta put their logo on there so that it's all tied in. And I was like, man, that's
Oh man,
cool.
I'm super excited. I'm super. Can we go ahead and tell that we're going to be doing with the yeah. So there was 2 of these actually made, and they gave them to us, and he said it's up to us what we want to do with them, but we're going to donate one of these to the giveaway. So guys, you'll be able to get one of these very limited edition. Gosh, it's got your D&G, got the Take on the World and the Way Remnant. So we're going to donate one of those to the giveaway.
There are 2 mugs.
Mhm.
There are two mugs. Both of them have 2 menorahs on them, but one of them have both ministries represented.
That's awesome, brother.
So you get the chance if you want to get one where it's got the Way Remnant as well as the Take on the World and everything like that.
That's awesome.
There is 1 mug, and it's one of 2.
Yeah.
So it is very limited.
Very limited. Yeah.
Very
man,
rare.
that is super cool. And I did bring a copy of one of my books, so we'll leave it here. So guys, we'll be able to throw that in there if you guys are interested in that. And listen, shout out to everybody that we've actually sold quite a few books. Nice. Since doing this series. A lot of people have talked about it. I've even had one of my coworkers get one of the books, and she bought it, and her husband read it, and then he didn't know who we were, and now he's watching these series.
Oh.
And so she says, Jeff, I come home, and you're in my bedroom on the big screen in the TV.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh man.
So praise y'all. It's y'all's really been doing a great work with all this stuff. Hey guys, we apologize if there's any noise in the background. We got a house full of people downstairs, and we're just excited you're joining in this. It's a festival. It's a feast, and we're excited to have you all here. So yeah, I even got me a new little hat going on. Yeah.
Nice.
I had to bend the brim. I'm too old fashioned.
That's Southern.
I'm too old. Yeah. Southern thing. There we go. Yeah.
Southern farmer boy.
Couldn't get my gangster stuff going
on.
There we go.
I have to.
Yeah.
And my wife said, "Are you gonna take that sticker off?" Or no, I think my mother-in-law asked. I said, "No, that's part of it. That's part of the street. You keep the sticker out. I've always kept the sticker.
That's kind of the mini pearl of gangsters.
It's an urban thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. So should we dive into the notes? Or you
Let's
have any other announcements or anything?
Man, that's all I got right now.
Man, and for any of you who caught this live today, talk about staff in hand.
Oh.
Petey. You know who Petey is, right?
No.
Petey.
Okay.
You never seen Petey West Heisen, something like that?
No.
I'm botching his last name. Oh, dude, he's a Torah teacher. Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
Nice.
Anyways, he did a Passover video yesterday or 2 days ago, and he was comparing the staff in hand and the sandals on feet to evangelistic tools.
Okay.
And how Yah was telling them spiritually to prepare to be ready.
Right.
You're about to start going out to the world to be preaching. Get ready. So this is
nice.
So he was going into the symbolic references there, and I was like, that's pretty neat.
Nice.
So for anybody who caught this live, you really had your staff in hand and shoes on feet.
Yeah.
Because we gave no notice. We literally got it all right. I told Jeff, I said, do you want to do a video or do you just want to hang out? Because either way, and he's like, man, this is a cool opportunity.
Oh, Petey, Rise on Fire.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now.
See,
there
Miranda's like, see.
Thanks, Miranda.
Yeah, he did one on Passover recently.
That's right. Yeah. Nice.
So, okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Staff in hand.
Staff in hand, brother. We're ready to roll. All right, brother. Hallelujah.
Okay, so we kind of, unlike the rest of the study, we got to Exodus 12.
It was kind of,
and then we just jumped around. We didn't go verse by verse or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I thought before we get to the end of it, if there was anything that you want to mention that comes to mind, I mean, we could even read through it all if you really want to. I don't know if we all that. The only thing I'm not sure that we mentioned is we went through a lot. But did we mention the whole bones not being broken of? Did we talk about that?
We didn't talk about the bones being broken of. No, we didn't.
Right. So when you're talking about the Passover lamb, ideally, right, and if you're buying it from a local meat shop, butcher shop, or a grocery store, something like that, the odds of it not having the bones broken are extremely rare. And as we've mentioned and we've emphasized in these videos before, and a lot of the people in the TO community are starting to come into the same mindset of, you're going to strive for your best. You're going to try to do your best.
Right.
I said some things in the last couple of videos that that might have ruffled some feathers and might have made some people nervous. And at the end of the day, the emphasis should be that you're seeking Yah on how to do this, keeping in mind that it's not going to be 100% perfect, and you always have next year to try to. That doesn't mean, okay, I don't have to try.
Right.
I'll just leave it for whatever.
Right.
It's just you do the best you can, and as you find that leaven in the house that you need to throw away, or as you realize you had a guest that invited that maybe you would not invite for next year.
Right.
You make that progression.
Do the best.
You make that move.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to put any burdens on anybody, anything like that. I did feel heavily convicted that what I said the last video needed to be said.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking that back. I strongly believe that the Spirit was pressing that on me.
Amen.
And that needed to be mentioned. But with that being said, we had Karen in the comments had brought up some chapters in, I can't remember if it was Numbers, talking about no, it wouldn't have been Numbers because it was Hezekiah, but she brought up Hezekiah praying for an anointing on the individuals coming to the Passover if they weren't ready for the meal. I don't know if you saw this comment.
I didn't know.
And so she was saying, if you're inviting people that you're doubting their salvation, then just pray for the anointing and things like that. And I said, yeah, that's a good answer. And then I was like, let me go look at this text that she's bringing up. And so I'm looking at it, and this was the first time that they were celebrating Pesach in a long time.
Right.
And in the context, as it seems to me, at least in the English, I didn't go too much into the Hebrew, the issue was cleansing. It wasn't a matter of whether or not these individuals knew what Passover was, whether or not they were keeping Pesach truly.
Right.
Some of them might not have been cleansed as they should have been coming to the meal. So he was praying for an anointing on that.
Gotcha.
So I was saying, it's a good chapter to look at and consider. And he does pray, but again, at least in the English, that prayer was talking about for those who seek the Father in truth. So these are not people that you'd be doubting their salvation. Not that we should be trying to figure out who's saved or who's not. I saw in the chat somebody had mentioned if it's somebody who normally would have kept Passover anyhow, that's a good indication that they'd be more likely. And there's lots of comments other people talk about how there's always going to be tares amongst the wheat. Judas was at the table. So on and so forth.
I mean, the main thing with all that is we're trying to make sure that someone is not taking this in a lightly or in a vain situation. To me, that kind of goes with taking the Lord's name in vain, taking Jehovah's name in vain. Right. That has nothing to do with cussing people. That's literally you're not walking out his character in the thing. So that's the main thing. And listen, again. Maybe this is something that they're going to, as you're talking to them, maybe they're coming to the Lord with. So that's all good. But man, this is good stuff.
Okay, all right. So the bones weren't supposed to be broken, and the neat thing that we didn't mention, I don't think we mentioned, I'm not sure if we went into that or not, is that when it came to the crucifixion site, they sent out the order to break the knees of those. So that's what they would do if they wanted to speed up the process. Very common, because you hit the knees, and what happens, Jeff?
Yeah, you can't support yourself anymore, and that's how the death by crucifixion happens. Is they're stretched out and they're holding themselves up every time they breathe, and then they let down to exhale. And they have to push yourself up again, and it's excruciating pain. And if you're like, okay, we're done, break the knees, bam. Yeah, they can't push up anymore to breathe, and then they suffocate. Yeah,
so it's a suffocation death.
Right.
And it's in Isaiah 53 as well, talking about the bones shall not be broken. Again, that chapter, we didn't go into that as much as we probably should have, but
the forbidden chapter.
So much. Oh my God.
We did talk about it a little bit.
We did. We dived into it a little bit because you can, there are so many testimonies out there where they show Orthodox Jews this chapter, and they'll just read it to them and they'll say, does anybody come to mind? And right away you can see the light bulb in their eyes. They're like, there's only one person that is ever could be considered. And these are for individuals who don't study Yeshua.
Right.
They know very little about Yeshua. They think he's anti-Semitic.
They think he's anti-Torah, like he's come to do.
Right.
Even though Yeshua himself says, I did not come to abolish the Torah,
but to fulfill. Just like love and righteousness.
That's it, brother.
So it doesn't mean to do away with.
Yeah. Did you ever think about that where he says the jot and the tittle? The jot is actually a dot.
Yeah.
So were they using some of the dots back then? Interesting little thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, it's always 600 AD. Maybe not.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. Anyway, just throw that out there.
Maybe just bring it today.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a little show on that later. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Not everything is as it appears, guys.
So they go to break the knees.
Yeah.
And Yeshua's already passed. He's already given up the ghost.
But they got to make sure what they do next.
Right. So they go to break the knees, but then they realize no need to. So that's when they decide to pierce him, which again is mentioned in Isaiah 53.
Right.
So you have the whipping and you have the thorns, but you have the actual piercing, because without that spear in the side, you see that verse and you go, was he really pierced though?
Right.
You know, even though he had nails, was he really pierced? Well, now there's no question on that.
Well, and then we also see something in Isaiah 53 where it talks about them ripping his beard out, pulling his beard. And I think this is one of the reasons that they did not recognize him immediately when he appeared to them. Guys, listen, right now,
the gardener at the tomb.
Yeah, if we're to go right now, take 5 minutes, go shave our beards off, we came back, I don't think you would recognize us.
No. Speaking of, I looked at pictures of you the other day without a beard. I was going through some of your pictures the other day. It's funny you mentioned that, because I was looking at your pictures and I told Alicia, I said, man, he needs to keep that beard. He needs to keep that beard. Which, look, man, me too, though. That's just one of those. But it was just so funny because he does look so different, and that's a really good point. I guarantee you, if I shave, one of the first things people are going to say is, wow, you look so young.
Right.
You know, and then there's going to be some other thoughts too. And they're like, put it back, go glue it back on there, do something, man.
Nice. Yeah, so those are some good stuff. You know, I do have to get everybody to go back and really listen to the last video that we did. And that revelation with the basin being in the threshold, the 2 doves.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I am all on that. And you know what? I'm gonna say I am leaning now towards a Thursday.
Okay, so did you watch the video?
I did. I watched the video.
I sent him some Staley videos where I got a lot of the notes that he's talking about with the threshold and stuff. I didn't take all the notes from the last video, was not from Staley. I don't have any video that we've done together where it's been all of somebody else's notes, let alone all of one. Like Jeff had mentioned, him and I have been looking at many ministries. I watched Heiser's stuff and I grab a couple of notes from each of those videos. Even if I disagree, there's some things that we go back and listen. I'll say, well, Heiser said this and I disagree, but that is a view out there, and I like hearing the different views. So I looked at Heiser, I looked at Hamp, I looked at Guzik, I looked at like 5 or 6 names I'm not even mentioning right now. I can't think of. I've looked at Reynolds, all kinds of different stuff. But the threshold one, that was mostly Staley, as well as a couple other individuals. But Staley hit that home. And he has that video where he goes over the 3 days, and whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And after the video, I said, Jeff, I think I butchered that video, the last one you did. And Jeff's like, no, you did fine. And I was like, man, I botched it. I felt like out of all the videos, the last couple, I didn't do so great. The ones that are most popular, you know?
No, man, I did.
So I sent it to Jeff and I said, man, you got to check this out because Staley does it way better. And he really breaks it down in more than what I had, because my notes were all over the place. I had like one note at the top of the page, one note at the bottom of the page. I counted my notes for the Exodus study yesterday because I wanted to see how many pages. 29 pages for 6 videos. And that's front and back, 29 pages. Wow. And my wife said, that's a book right there. I said, don't get me started.
Don't get me started there. Yeah.
Going on that. But, but you know, a lot of notes. So you're thinking maybe Thursday now.
Yeah, I'm close. I'm about 85% there, guys.
Okay,
you know?
okay. I thought that might do it a little bit.
It did. It pushed me a little bit. And hey, guys, that's what this study's all about. It's to challenge where you're at. We're supposed to test all things. Not all of us know everything. None of us knows everything. Even the mighty, Apostle Paul said, "We know in part."
Yeah,
we know in part.
Yeah, for we see in part through a darkly glass, and we
get
that image. Yeah, because we're looking through the matrix, and we're trying to understand spiritual from a more physical realm. And how hard is it for us to not pay attention to the physical right in front of us, even though it's the spiritual that's 10 times more real, 1,000 times more real, more prevalent, and 1,000,000 times more significant.
And we're seeing through the filter of growing up with lies. Jeremiah 16 talks about that we've inherited lies from our fathers.
Yeah.
How much of that there's a filter for what we're looking through, and we're even when we think, man, I've gotten rid of all that stuff. You're like, oh wait, what about this? What about this? Where are we at with that? Oh, and so that's good stuff.
Yeah, it's part of the walk too, and you know, and I hear this from people who are a couple years into 10 years to 30 plus years doing Torah and following the Father and things like that. And you know, there'll be points where you think, okay, not that you have everything, but you're
pretty good.
In certain things.
I'm pretty good, yeah.
And the Father loves to shake you up a little bit and say, hey, you remember that one that you think you've got solid? What about this? And it throws everything off. Right. And then you have that fork in the road decision of either, no, I already have this. I've already studied this out. I'm done with it, moving on. Or humble yourself and be, okay, maybe I got this wrong.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we get that through our walks, man. Yeah. You know, like even doing the study, I had to reconsider a lot of things.
So there's some ministers that I know and I really respect. And I don't agree with everything they say. like I agree with everything I say, but you know, and I've seen them publicly, and these are big ministries, in Torah ministries, and they'll come out and say, you know what, I used to say X for so many years, and now I've seen it differently, and they go back and change. They openly admit, hey, I was wrong in this.
Yeah.
That takes a big person to do that.
You know, well, I don't know if you noticed, but in the last like 3-4 years of Skiba's ministries, when he would do a presentation, he started prefacing it with, "This is what I believe now."
Yeah.
I reserve the right. I think he used to say that I reserve the right to change my mind.
Yeah.
For the next presentation, I might end up arguing. And it's not that you're so flippant or you're like a reed shaking in the wind to where you really don't know, but this is where you're at now, understanding something might come along that makes you realize, you know, those pieces that you thought would have fit, but it's off. It's janky a little bit. You've bent a couple corners to fit that jigsaw puzzle, and you thought it was the best fitting fit. You know, I'm still waiting to see if somebody's got something on that 10th day thing, because I'm convinced on that riding the donkey. But if I'm wrong, you know, because it almost feels like it's a nice fit, but not as it's not as solid, perfect as I'd like it to be. So I'm waiting to see if I'm off on that. And that's actually something I wanted to bring up today. Okay, so broken bones. We gotta go through this a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so we've got the eat it with your loins girded, the shoes on your feet, and the staff in hand. Right, eat it in haste. You've got the staff in hand.
There we go.
Some people are doing that physically with the dinner. I have no problem with that. I don't think that that's necessarily for now. But if you want to do that now,
fun.
I think I mentioned that before though. That you know it's either way, it doesn't matter. It's just one of those. I just wanted to emphasize it's not instructed for now.
I'm all about eating in haste. I eat quick anyway, so this is good, brother. Hallelujah.
Okay, so this day shall be to you for memorial. You should keep it as a feast to Yahovah through your generations. You shall keep it for this time. No, only no actually says an ordinance forever.
Right, forever.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the cleaning of the house. We talked about leaven. We don't want to get into all that again. We've had some listeners say,
brother, I woke up this morning in a panic. I said, oh my gosh, Miranda, I did not get that pizza out of the freezer in the shed. And she said, the pizza? And I said, yeah, the cauliflower. Oh wait, it's cauliflower pizza. It's cauliflower pizza. It's good. It doesn't have leaven in it. So
okay, so you've got that verse where it talks about the stranger not eating it, and we discussed that before, right? Okay, we talked about the hyssop and how that has to do with cleansing and purification, and we even talked a little bit about the red heifer and things. Okay, you shall keep the service. Right, and then you've got, this is kind of where you get the Jews having the 4 questions. You know, when it comes, the children will ask you, what does this mean?
What does this mean?
So you have that Mishnah Tana, right, where
they
sing the 4 questions, which is kind of neat. It's a tradition of man, but it's one of those traditions where it's like, is this necessarily so bad if you're actually answering the questions?
Yeah.
If it's not just doing the motion's sake, but actually answering the child and say, you know what, we sing the songs and stuff like that, but do you actually understand? Are you listening to what I tell you?
Right.
This is why we do this. This is why this day is different from the other days.
Right, and it falls right in with in Deuteronomy, where we're supposed to teach our children the word and how we're supposed to get them to where they're asking questions, and it's just a beautiful picture all the way around. So hallelujah, it's good stuff.
Okay, moving along, which we're doing okay on.
We're trying.
Okay, so here we're finally into the spot that we haven't talked about. Exodus 12:29. It came to pass that at midnight, so it's in the middle of the night. If you look at that word midnight there and you look at the Hebrew and things like that, it's talking about after the 2 evenings. We talked about the 2 sun settings.
Right.
This would have been after that
PM,
and before the rising of the sun. So we're talking middle of the night. As to whether or not it's what we call midnight, as in being exactly 12 or what, it could have been a little bit later.
Yeah.
Point is, everybody's asleep. It's in the middle of the night. Right?
That's something I will say, that is something that we didn't talk about either, is when they're doing the dinner, it's in the evening, and most of the time they're going to bed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about that.
No, I don't think we did. There's different views on that.
This was something that was difficult for them to do because normally you're not up burning the midnight oil, and that's where we get that term from. They're having to have candles, they're having to have oil lamps going on. And that stuff's expensive, so normally you wouldn't do this stuff. When it got dark, you went to bed.
Yeah.
So this was kind of a different type of a sacrifice, a different type of a meal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of a neat thing. In other words, what I look at it as is it is putting you outside of your comfort zone already. You know, so whether however you're doing this, it's supposed to be something that's not normal.
Right. Well, I was thinking about this the other day because I got some things I want to talk to you about in this study today while we're on camera here. But I was starting to compare this to my own spiritual walk, when you're first born again and things like that. And when I first cried out, I don't know, how much I've told you about this or if I've done this on the Draw Nine series yet, but when I was first born again was actually months after I had called out and saw the Father.
Okay.
Personally, I had done a call out in the fall of 2013, and it wasn't until spring, like a week or two prior to Passover, that I actually started hearing from the Father back directly, and everything changed, and the lenses dropped in. You could feel, and there was no man can take that away from me. I know what I felt, I know what I heard, and I know it wasn't me thinking things. I was hearing things that I wouldn't have thought.
Right.
You know, there's all kinds of things that people can try to argue with me all they want. I know what I know on those things. So in between that time of me seeking him, which I got knocked out. I don't know if I told you that. People call that slain in the spirit. I don't like that terminology, but I got knocked out and I had a spiritual experience that I brushed off the next day as, oh, I must have got scared and blacked out.
Sure.
But in that experience, there was a spiritual experience where I saw, you know, some things. And we'll talk about that at a different time. I don't want to get the chat all going up on that now. You couldn't have seen that, or wow, that's amazing. Tell us more. We don't have time for all that. But after that experience, between that and being born again, I had received a couple of instructions, simple things.
Right.
Okay. So I was in a situation where I needed medication to get rid of something that could not be healed without medication according to science.
Right.
And that was part of why I was freaked out, and part of why I realized, like, okay, I need to get to the Father and get things right, because this is a situation where, like, I didn't think I'd ever get to the bottom of the barrel like this. And I was freaked out, and I went and got the medication through the VA and stuff like that. And there was this long process, and it was one of those, like, you need to get this taken care of, or else you're going to be looking at some serious consequences and possibly death down the road if you don't get this now.
Wow.
And you know, and it wasn't too serious as long as you do it. If you ignore it, there's going to be problems years ahead, and it will mess you up. And so I went and got the medication, and I wasn't hearing from the Father. I get home with the medication, and I go to take the first one, and I heard, and I just like the blackout, just like the experience, I kind of brushed it off, but I heard, don't take it. And I knew it wasn't me, because I'm going to take my medication, right?
Yeah.
And I went to take it, and I heard, don't take it. And it wasn't one of those, like, you know, you must not or whatever. It was a very simple instruction. Yeah. And I remember thinking at the time, this is definitely the Father. And again, I wasn't even like floored. This is, again, the difference between, you know, having those experiences and then being born again, to where it's like, whoa, I'm hearing from God. This is crazy.
Right.
At this time, it was just kind of one of those, oh, yeah, that's him. Well, I probably shouldn't take it then. And I sealed it and didn't take it.
Wow.
And I got healed.
Yeah.
And I went back later because they had to make sure. They had to do some testing and things. And they said, yeah, it's gone. You know, I'm glad you took the medication. You still need to take the remainder until, just to make sure. And I said, I haven't taken any of it.
Wow.
And the doctor called me a liar.
Sure.
And I said, well, let me ask you this. He goes, well, why don't you bring it in then if you still haven't? And I said, fine, but do I get a refund?
Right.
I won't, you know what I said, Jeff? Because I'm not going to do it for him.
Show me the money.
If you're not going to take my word, fine. I'll bring the pills back and you can use them or whatever. But I want my refund then.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we can't do that. And I said, well, then what's the point? Me coming here to tell you something? If you can't receive my earthly words, then, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, no, forget it. I'm not coming in. But that spoke volumes to me, because I got home. I said, oh my gosh, they said they confirmed that I was healed. They refused to think, because I was like, oh man, maybe because I was eating healthy and stuff. And he said, no. This does not go away other than through medication. There is no way that you can heal. I said, well, I didn't take any of it. I had multiple pill bottles. Didn't take any of it, Jeff.
Wow. So, so you're saying that we serve a supernatural God.
So what? Yeah. But what I really wanted to emphasize there is simple instructions before the walk began. So it was almost like kill the lamb in faith, in trust, in hope, for no reason that you would think that this is going to work. Put the blood over your doorpost. Yeah. These are the Israelites that have not been doing these things for 430 years at this point. Wow. Okay. And they're being given simple instructions, but very significant instructions. Right. You know, kill the lamb, put it over the doorpost, use the hyssop, use the basin and the threshold. Yeah. And they would have understood some of the symbology of this, but they wouldn't have been used to this, I don't think. Right. I don't, you know, this was, like you said, it would have been different even if they were doing sacrifices. It's quite likely that this would have been considered an abomination to the Egyptians. This would have been part of why Moshe said we need to go into the wilderness to do this, because the cows and the sheep were not something that the Egyptians would have wanted to watch get killed. And here they're being killed millions at the doorposts, Jeff, in the streets, you know, and these Egyptians must have been disgusted. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And so, but I find it funny because you have these simple instructions in faith and in trust and in hope. Do these things. And then the next morning, we're going to start that covenant, and you're going to walk through that, over the threshold into that covenant that we have solidified and started with intimacy with that Pesach meal. Wow. And we're going to begin this journey. Yeah. We'll start with a simple instruction. Yeah. You know, it's like the blind beggar. Well, give me your hand. You know,
Yeah.
come forward, step out of the
Right.
boat onto the water. There's that simple instruction, and I think that's what this was. I think this was a simple instruction, not to demean it or bring it down to just that. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just saying that that's so in your walk. You know, is those times where you feel like in the very beginning?
Yeah, and it's our responsibility to apply the blood to the doorpost and to the lintel.
Yeah, I saw that post.
Oh my
that was
gosh,
well written,
dude!
Nice and short but sweet.
Yeah, you know, and that just so that really hit me over the week that we did this last program. Yeshua's already done the sacrifice. The blood is in the basin, and he's wanting to go around our door and knock on it to come in and sup with us.
Right.
But he's looking for that blood.
Right.
Have you taken what I've given you and applied
actually applied it?
Oh,
right. Or
man.
is it sitting there in the basin?
It's just sitting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Because if it's not spreading, if it's not making the full thing, you know, and I don't know if we talked about this, but did you know back then ancient they would put ancient deities on their doorposts?
Yeah.
The pagans would do that. They had their own mezuzahs, and that was for protection. And they'd go all the way around. They understood that too.
They would.
So the Egyptians would have seen this and said, okay, your deity protection is the blood of some lamb. What is this? You know, they probably would have been disgusted. And
they're like these guys are into blood magic. They're look at these. Look at these. Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, if you look at it from their aspect.
Let's see. We haven't looked at the chat because I've had my verses up here. Okay. Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So it came to pass that at the middle of the night, Yahovah smote all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on the throne to the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon. Right. So even to the prisoners
everywhere,
and all the firstborn of the cattle.
Can you time out? Tell I know. Or you're a captive in the dungeon.
Oh man.
You don't even know what's going on.
Well, but you hear those cries in the middle.
You hear the cries and the screams.
Yeah.
And then like you're hanging out in chains or whatever, and some people are just dying straight up, and maybe you didn't because you're and you don't know, you have no idea why this guy died, why this one didn't. Man, horror movie.
Yeah. And then somebody comes up, it's your spouse or your friend, and they say, hey man, I gotta tell you, your firstborn son.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh,
you know. So Pharaoh rose up in the night. Okay, and we have some timing clues here because there's some misconceptions and things, and this I believe ties in with the whole 3 days, 3 nights, and things like that, and all kinds of stuff. But we talked about this before also. You have the Pesach meal in the evening of the 14th. Right. So it'd be towards the end of the 14th, going into the 15th.
Going into
I don't
the
want
15th.
to get into all that now, but I think we talked about it a little bit.
I think we hit that pretty good. Yeah.
So so here's some clues to back that up. It's in the middle of the night after the meal. Right. This is 15th has already started, but they're in bed sleeping with their shoes on and their staffs in their bed. Yep. Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and his servants and all the Egyptians, and there arose a great cry in Mitzrayim, and there was not a house where there was not one dead.
Can you imagine? I mean, last night Brandon and I were talking about we were just kind of going through some of this, and this is the verse that I brought up to her. I said, I think that we're going to start past this, but this verse, so I backed it up here. And I'm like, this verse just really gets me. This verse, there was not a house in the Egyptians. Right. There was not a house that there was not one dead.
No.
There could have been 2 dead. Yeah. You know, what if the husband was a firstborn?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know, man, I'm just,
if you got servants, you could have lost multiple of your household.
Your cattle. I mean, all this. It's just it is rough.
Well, if you didn't kill your your firstling lamb, then you have to lose the cattle.
That's it.
And if you don't have that bloodshed cover, and again, you keep in mind the Egyptians were fine with the Hebrews putting their babies. It was baby boy males.
That's it.
So you talk about firstborn, right? And it's often that understanding firstborn son, but we're looking at firstborn here. So there's some things that you can argue there. That's
right.
Well.
Absolutely.
But either way, the baby, they had no problem with Hebrew babies being thrown in the Nile
because it wasn't theirs.
You know,
it doesn't affect me.
Then, but you know, so I'm just saying, you know, not that we should be like, God, get them. You know, it's not like that. You know, I don't think the Hebrews were thinking that then, and I don't believe that the Israelites and Hebrews should be thinking that now. This is not you know, if we watch the wicked and the elite of today go through sufferings and hard times and things because Yah is punishing them and judging them, that is not something to get excited about. You can ask that they get trapped in their own traps if they refuse to seek Yah, and you can pray for them to get guidance. But if they harden their heart like Pharaoh did and things like that, then you know, we can do some David prayers. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you're not rejoicing in the suffering and pain in others. There's even verses, Jeff, that tell us that if you rejoice in the suffering of the wicked and of your enemies and things like that, that their suffering will be shortened, and it'll be brought upon you. So there's verses that we're told. So, you know, if you start seeing that in your heart, whether you're reading about Exodus or you're thinking nowadays and you're like, you know, yeah, good, you know, Epstein was killed or whatever, you get these things. You know, we need to be acknowledging that. We need to be recognizing it and repenting and seeking to be done away with that, because that is not a godly heart.
Yeah, think of the worst person that you could think of. How, no matter what wickedness they've done, what a testimony they would have if they came to Yah.
Right. These are still humans that Yah made
in His image and His likeness.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you could be looking over Nineveh all you want, and maybe they're not repenting, but Yah still has a heart for them. He's going to give them a chance. These are His creation, and to think that we're any different than them just because.
For God so loved the church that He gave His only begotten Son.
Right. No, everybody else.
Yeah. No. It says the whole world, right?
Yeah. Okay, so he calls for Moshe and Aharon by night. You think they were sleeping, Jeff?
No.
I
think that they were up. To me, I'm thinking that they're hearing the cries, even from the land of Goshen. I think that they're hearing cries from all around. Maybe they're hearing some cries from, maybe some Israelites didn't do it. We already know some were already walking in disobedience already.
Yeah.
So, there could have been all kinds of stuff going on, whether or not they were up or not, but they were called for at night.
In the middle of the night.
That is unprecedented.
Yeah, because if he killed them in the middle of the night, and how quickly do you know? How do you know? You know, because that's another thing too. Did Yah make it so that maybe some shutters and you just wake up and you have that weird feeling and you're like, I need to go check the kitchen.
That's right.
I feel like there was a noise or something. You get that that disturbing uneasiness.
Something's not right.
Lack of rest. Something's off.
Yeah.
And because how else would they know? I mean, it was, well, I mean, unless we're to assume that the killing of the children and the cattle and stuff made noise of the killing, but I don't think it was like that.
No,
I think he made a disturbing, kind of like the 3 days of darkness.
Right.
You just felt something off.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you go to check on your children. You feel like you hear somebody breaking in, and you go down and you check and you get your baseball bat or your shotgun rifle or whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
And you go and see, and the doors are locked and windows are locked and there's no reason to think anybody's in the house. On your way back to bed, do you poke your head in and look at your children, or your spouse, or your pets, or whatever? You go to check on your things, and your people. And you go to look and maybe they went to see, like, it doesn't look like they're breathing. But so this is the middle of the night. This is the middle of the night.
Okay. Imagine your firstborn.
I don't want to, Joe.
Oh my gosh, man.
I know.
I try to empathize and put myself in these places, and oh my gosh.
Oh.
And it doesn't have to be a little bitty tiny baby. I'm talking about could be maybe
anywhere from baby to whatever.
Old as dirt. Right. Dropping over dead. Oh my gosh.
Firstborn, it says not. There's no age limits or anything. So you could be Yeah.
Oh
yeah. You could be looking at your son, your husband, your dad,
your uncle, your brother.
It could be all kinds of
sister.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Rise up, get you forth from among my people. He wants them out now.
Yeah.
He's not playing games anymore.
No, he's done. He's not bartering anymore.
No. And there's no undo it or anything like that. Just go and get out.
He's not saying this is going to be huge. It's the best deal ever. He's not doing any of that, right?
Right. and you see now, compared to all the other times that the Pharaoh did try to do some compromises.
Yeah.
He says, your children, and he even says, take your flocks and your herds. I don't care. Take everything and
get
go.
Get it going.
Take them all and go.
Yeah.
Go serve Yahovah, as you have said that you're going to go.
Yeah.
But the one thing we do see
yes,
that's different is what, Jeff? What do we see that's different?
He says, and bless me also.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think here he's asking for his son back?
I don't think he's asking for the son back and the blessing. I think there's some things here to consider. Okay, so firstborn, let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Because we talked about all the economic crisis that we have in Egypt, right? We have all these issues that are going on from the top to the bottom. And we talked about, the donkeys and the travel and the burdens and not being able to mill your grain and all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
So when you lose the firstborn, what is the language here? Okay, because not only is it human, your loved one, your child, or whatever.
This is your retirement.
This is the successorship.
Yeah.
Right. The
Yeah.
one your legacy.
They didn't have nursing homes. They didn't have hospice. They didn't have all this kind of stuff. You know, your firstborn. That's why they got the double portion. Your firstborn was supposed to take care of you and your spouse in your old age.
Yeah.
They're going to take care of your estate. They're going to, you know, it's Fred Sanford taking care of the empire, the junkyard, you know, all that kind of stuff.
And in return, they're getting the inheritance, which
that's right.
Back then meant a lot more than what seems to be often the case in America. You know, you bring up inheritance, and I think a lot of American Christians kind of pass over that, and they're not thinking too much about inheritance and blessings,
right?
Because they're sitting there going, "All I got for my folks is some debt." You know,
I got some debt.
You know what I mean?
I got some old sheets that we had to give away. You know, the furniture was wore out.
Right,
you know,
right.
they still had the plastic cover on it from the '60s. Right. I don't know, right? You know,
right. You know, I had to get rid of a house or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, you had to pay for the funeral, and there's all kinds of things that they're thinking. But you look at inheritance back then; they understood that this was the passing of everything that they've been building up. This is not just legacy. This is, I have built this up for the family, and now the keys to the family kingdom, if you will, our household is to you. You know, and you see this in the godly men. You look at Abraham and all these other guys. You look at Noah. They multiplied. They prospered. Look at Job. They had fields and servants and houses for the servants and houses for the servants' servants. You know, some of them got so. You know. Yeah. So we're talking inheritance, but you have all of Egypt. The economy has been destroyed, and now the successorship. So Pharaoh dies. You have the struggle of who takes the kingdom. Who takes the kingdom? Right. You've got, and even if there's other children, right? Because we don't know how many children he might have had, depending on what Pharaoh you're looking at, and all those different things. Either way, you know, okay, it goes to the second born, fine. But in your heart and in your mind, and as a society, that's in the back of your head now. Well, that's not even the one that we would have naturally gave it to.
And one thing that they would raise that firstborn up with that expectation. There's a lot. I think there's a lot more emphasis put on the firstborn to take those reins over, and so maybe the secondborn or the thirdborn, they may not even be as prepared. That's something else too.
You might not have taught them as much. You might not have emphasized all the things you wanted them to do.
Yeah, maybe the secondborn, he wanted to be an artist, and he's not even really worried about
change of plans now.
Yeah. Oh, hey, what I got to do all this? Yeah.
So, and that's from the bottom to the top. So I think successorship is one of the main things that I keep seeing when I look at the firstborn of the Egyptians dying. I'm sitting there going, man, you know, with each plague, remember how we discussed this, that like, you know, okay, the hail destroyed a bunch of stuff, but it would have taken so many years for it to grow back, but then they didn't repent. So then the locust came and they furthered that. And I can't remember what it was, but it went from like 3 years to 7 years or 8 years or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
With each plague, it was constantly, it's going to take longer for the economy. You know, and so now you get rid of the successorship. Your economy's dropped. Any hope you have in continuing and rebuilding, this is that last devastating blow. I mean, this is what, one plague shy of just smiting the entire Sodom and Gomorrah.
So, and that's a great point, because it brings up another point that Tim LaHaye and David Rowe brought up in Patterns of Evidence for Exodus, is that we do see with this Pharaoh that we're talking about, Egypt just falls off a cliff.
Yeah, that is the harshest economy for them. Yeah, they even have the imagery of the Pharaoh has a frown face.
Yeah, he's frown.
Looks serious.
His ears are stuck out so he can hear
to the people to listen. There's all kinds of neat stuff. If you guys haven't looked at the Patterns of Evidence Exodus, I'm telling you, and the first so many picks are going to have an option depending on if somebody takes it, then I'm not going to roll that over. That's going to be first one to take it if they take it. Yeah. So if it's first pick chooses it, then everybody else doesn't get that option. Yeah. But we are going to put that in the giveaways as an option of, if you choose that item, you get to pick one of the DVDs of the Patterns of Evidence Exodus, and we'll have it shipped out to you. You know, brand new. Again, this isn't me cleaning out my cupboards. Right. But some things to think about.
Unlike the cup that you know, hasn't been drank out.
This guy. Haven't drank out of the cup, Jeff. Okay, so the Egyptians were urgent upon the people. Yes, that one's his. But there is another one that he is willing to give away, which I told him. I said, look, if you guys want to, It's up to you.
I'm excited to give that away. That's fun.
So the Egyptians were urgent upon the people. They want him out too. It's not just the Pharaoh. Get out of here. Yeah. Please be gone. Yeah. Okay. That they might send them out of the land in haste. Well, I mean, that's what the Israelites, that's what Moshe was saying from the get-go. Let's go. We're ready. Yeah. Now everybody's on the same page.
And I love the way the King James says it's urgent upon the people. We don't talk like that today.
No.
Right? No. They are like, get your stuff and leave.
Pressed. Hard pressed.
Yeah.
You have your bags packed? If not, I don't even care. Get out of here.
Go. We get it.
Okay, so now this is something I want to bring up too. For they said, we be all dead men. Okay, so they've noticed that the plagues have gained in severity.
Right.
Okay, and we talked about this when it went from pest to pestilence.
Right.
And I loved how we talked about that because
Yeah.
they were probably expecting another pest. And then Yah upped it. He's like, okay, second tier of 3.
Boom.
Right? We're upping it now.
Yeah.
And with each one, he kept upping it.
Yeah.
Right? With each set of 3. So now we finished those 3 of 3, and then now you have the one that sits aside, the 10th, the completion of judgment number 10, right?
And now they don't know that.
Right.
They're like, okay,
right.
wow.
They don't know. They don't know. But they know this, that if they don't let them go, Yah has got some problems. So if you have your firstborn pass, what could possibly be more severe than that?
Just wiping everybody out.
So you think that was in their mind?
I think that was. That's my thought.
Our chance of not dying.
That's my thought, because again, I think Karen C. gave us a great tool where it kind of showed a progression in time.
Yeah,
this stuff's going over.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
if you guys missed you should go back and check that out.
This is going over a year. Right,
about a year, anywhere from 11 to 13 months.
Yeah, about a year for all this stuff to go on, and it's progressively gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. I do think that they're like, dude, if they don't leave, we're all dead.
We're done.
We're all dead.
Because what else is y'all gonna do?
Yeah, even oh my gosh,
Sodom and Gomorrah, baby. That's what I think. That's what they were thinking in their head.
Yeah,
they're like, it's gonna rain fire, and it's not gonna just hit the crops, and it's not gonna be. Here's a little tidbit. I wanted to make a little list of things that I left out of each video and just quickly mention, but I didn't do it. Okay, so but one thing, do you know how much the hail weighed?
Oh, I read it. Go ahead.
So if you compare the hail in Exodus, which has
big.
the same phrasing, the same terminology, the phrasing of the great hail and stuff like that, you go back to the book of Revelation, which we mentioned before, that you want to compare the two. It says something about what was it? There's a term there that actually gives you the weight. Okay, so let's see, what was it? Was it 13? I don't think it was 13, was it? No, maybe 16. The 7 bowls, was that it? You got River of Euphrates. Speaking of, anybody watching the River Euphrates dry up like crazy right now?
It's almost
supposed
like
to dry up for the kings of the
kings of the east. It's almost like it's prophecy or something.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Okay. There fell upon 16 verse 21. I thought I heard 16. There fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. Okay, so that great hail out of heaven and things like that, if you look at that terminology and you're looking at the Greek from the Hebrew versus the Hebrew in Exodus, you're getting the same terminology, same picture. So I would argue that Yah is giving a heads up to those who actually read their Bibles. Hey, look, we're talking the same plague here, possibly a little bit more severe, but we're pretty much talking the same plague.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you look at that weight of the talent, you're talking 100 pounds.
Gosh.
Okay. I think when you think great hail, you're thinking golf ball. We're talking massive.
100 pounds, dude. You're
no,
like,
it was like this. I've got something for you if you remind me later, and maybe we can put it in the comments or something. But somebody did a post on this right after we did the hail video, and I was like, no. Oh. And it talked about the diameter of a hailstone, of what it would have to be in order to fit that weight measurement and things like that. Do you need something, sweetheart? Okay, don't come in the camera. Okay, we'll be done soon. We've got some stuff to go through. Okay.
I got a treasure chest full of chocolate money.
That's awesome. Okay, go back downstairs. Okay, so anyway, so you're talking heavy hail.
Yeah.
And there was even a study talking about the damage and the speed that this would come flying down. So I mean, you're talking bad, Jeff. You're talking about killing of cattle and humans and things like that. House roof damage. Forget it.
I've seen people drop like a cinder block that does not weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
From a bridge.
Yeah.
And you've seen the videos where they hit a car.
Yeah. Oh. Geez.
What damage does it do? Can you imagine 100-pound hail falling?
What is that? A penny from the Sears Tower?
Yeah.
You can't throw money over the Sears Tower because it could kill somebody. It'll come right back because of the velocity there.
Yeah, I've been up on top of the Empire State Building, and they have massive plexiglass up.
Yeah.
Just so you can't do
throw things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's a penny from a tower.
Yeah.
Not a huge block of ice from heaven. I'm just saying, Jeff. I'm just saying. Man. We're talking. So you've got that fire mixed with ice.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like
it is just devastating, man. Yeah. It's devastating.
Okay, so you got the ending of chapter 12 here. Yahweh says to Moshe and Aaron, "This is the ordinance, right? And there no strangers shall eat." I think we pretty much discussed all these things.
Yeah.
Right. That there should be no uncircumcised person that shall eat thereof. Does that mean that you should be asking your guests if they are physically circumcised? I would say no. This is about a heart circumcision.
Right.
And again, something to consider in terms of who you invite so that you don't trample it. I don't want anybody to be feeling burdened at this point in the game. That it's probably at the point where you've already made your invitations and things like that. We mentioned last time that maybe you had some time, but at this point there wouldn't be. So it's Yah's Pesach.
Right.
Does it not say that? So we should be seeking him on how to do his feast.
Right.
So maybe he'll have you invite somebody you wouldn't, and maybe he'd have you not invite somebody you wouldn't. Things to consider moving forward, right? If you feel convicted on some stuff, you can pray and repent on that, and you move forward.
Yeah.
This is not something to be. Today is a day where you do not want to be burdened down. This is a day you ask for shalom. You ask the Father for your heart and your mind to be in alignment, but for the feast to be the way that it should be.
Right.
That's the things I like to pray for the feast and stuff like that. Before you guys came over, I said, Father, let this Pesach be what you want it to be for us. Let us be thinking and feeling and hearing and speaking and going through what you want us in for this meal, which might be different things compared to the next year. We might have different topics the next year. So things to think about. Do you see the hail bigger than an open hand in Texas maybe last week? I did not.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to mention before we move to chapter 13 came to pass on the same day.
Yeah.
Same day, Jeff. Now, people argue about the 430 years, but are they going to argue about this too?
Hey,
do we have to change I'm sorry. I have to say it.
I love it. Because I love it.
We have the verse that says, it was 430 years. And then you've got the verse that it says on the same day.
Well, can we back up to 49 just real quick? One Torah, one law shall be to him that is homeborn or native, so a native Hebrew, a native Israelite, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you.
Right.
One law.
If they're going to be keeping the feast and things like that, because we have the verses above where it talks about the foreigner, the hired servant. If they're not praising and worshiping Yah, if they're not being spiritually grafted in, you still have those foreigners and servants. That doesn't mean you fire them. That just means you don't invite them.
You don't invite them in, right?
But for the stranger that travels with you, that sojourner, that's not just talking about physical walk, because the foreigner and the hired servant's doing that too.
Same thing.
So this is more of a spiritual implication of
absolutely.
They're walking the walk with you.
Right.
They are doing Hebrew things Hebrew way, Bible things Bible way, Yah's way.
Yeah.
And if they are sojourning with you in this amazing journey, this epic journey that we should all be going through individually as well as a body.
Right.
And there's so many things I'd like to talk to you about that, but I think we should.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
Yeah, one Torah, one Pesach.
Yeah.
Right, unless you're doing second Pesach, which we didn't really discuss. I think we'll leave it be.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 13, consecration of the firstborn. Yahovah speaks to Moshe and says, sanctify unto me all the firstborn, right? We just saw the firstborn of the Egyptians die.
Yeah.
So Yah says, now we're gonna set us apart and sanctify the firstborn of the Israelites. Whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. Yah is saying, I am claiming this just like I claimed the Egyptian firstborn.
Right.
I'm claiming the Israelites, and especially after that situation that they just had in Egypt. How important they're going to be like, okay.
Here you go.
If it means not them dying, okay. Father,
whatever
you want me to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it goes into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Which we discussed a lot, so we can run through it real quick.
Sure.
Moshe says to the people, remember this day, right? There's that remember. And keep in mind, again, remember doesn't just mean remembering it, but it's this understanding of hear and obey.
Yeah.
Read and do. This when you see remember, when you talk about Noah praying for remembrance, when you see Yah remembering his children.
It's something active.
Yes,
Yeah.
it calls for active.
Yeah.
This is not just a mental, where we see in American culture. Oh, I remembered.
What
you do about that?
Everything we do is mental. We believe. It's just this warm, fuzzy.
Right. So do the demons.
Yeah. Amen. That's right.
And they tremble too.
And they tremble.
They tremble.
Maybe they're doing more.
Is not trembling.
Yeah, they're doing more activity on their belief than we are.
Right. I mean, we're supposed to be working out our salvation with
fear and trembling. Yeah.
But whatever.
Who even knows?
Even the demons are trembling.
Right.
But they're not going to be. Okay. So remember this day. Remember and do. Remember, hear and obey. These are the things we should be thinking about in our minds and our hearts when we see that word remember, in which you came out of Mitzrayim, right? And so for you personally, we get to remember the Israelites coming out of Egypt, but we also get to look at Yeshua being crucified for our spiritual coming out of Mitzrayim, coming out of that bondage, out of that Babylon, that Egypt, and not wanting to return. Another call out, shout out to Chad Schaefer's book. If you guys haven't checked that out, we are doing that as a giveaway as well. The Arches of Titus, under the world under the bondage of Egypt, really breaks into this, but it's really cool because there's a verse in Deuteronomy that Chad wrote this whole book about proving that there's a prophecy in Deuteronomy that hasn't been fulfilled, and he proves it.
Nice.
And it has to do with Egypt and the bondage of Egypt and all kinds of things. So it is very interesting, especially for people who like history. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to talk, man. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to talk about that book. We're gonna have to talk about you and Chad
Yeah.
Chpt and things like that.
Yeah.
So out of the house of bondage, right? If Egypt doesn't ring bells, this should be ringing bells for us. This should
Yeah.
be highlighted, at least in our mind. Out of the house of bondage, if you were born again, if you received the indwelling of the Spirit, if you are walking in this covenant
Yeah.
over the threshold and through this walk with Yah, with Yeshua, towards our spiritual promised land, then you've come out of the house of bondage. Does that mean that there aren't struggles? Does that mean that
No.
there won't be issues of deliverance throughout? Name it and proclaim it, and proclaim it and name it, and you've already been saved. There's no need for deliverance, right, Jeff?
Oh no.
Or is that not the case?
That is not the case.
How many times do we need realignment? How many times do we need further deliverance that we didn't realize, or deliverance out of something that maybe we picked up and we shouldn't have?
Yeah.
Or whether it's something of the old man or something brand new.
Paul says the things I want to do, I don't do.
Right.
The things I don't want to do, I'm doing them.
The struggle of the spirit
Yeah.
and the flesh. So obviously this is not a one-time and done deal.
Yeah.
Out of the house of bondage. So we need to be thinking about, as we were called, as we started the spiritual walk and journey, but also along the way. Those little houses of bondage, those little gas station stops
There
of bondage
has-
that we stopped in.
We know because we've read the rest of the story. As they're leaving and they're going through to the wilderness, right? After they've crossed the Red Sea, all this part, and they're going through, they are slowly leaving behind things of Egypt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
that's
see that with Jacob as well.
okay. Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
all
Yeah.
kinds of- You can see that with Abraham. You could argue that Lot got dropped on the wayside.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of, and you can look at the spiritual. I love that you brought that up because you're setting aside. I heard a really neat sermon once that talked about how sometimes things aren't necessarily anti-Torah, even though these weren't Torah people. These were just believers who didn't understand the Torah is not done away with.
Right.
But listen, you're observing the Torah if you love Yah with all your heart and mind, and you love your neighbor, and you're trying to do God's instructions, God's ways. And
Yeah.
like I've told you before, 4 years I preached Torah is not done or is done away with, even though I was
keeping Torah
feasts and stuff like that. But even if I wasn't doing those things, if you truly love Yah and you are seeking Him and having a relationship with Him, you're keeping Torah.
Hey, you're not out wanting to
You're
go
just
murder
missing-
people. You're not out wanting to commit adultery. You're not out bearing false
You-
witness.
You're fighting temptation. You're seeking Him for those things. That's
most
Torah.
most believers that are on fire for Yah and doing things, they're probably 80 to 85% of the way to following Torah.
They're missing the lesson.
They just don't. They've been taught against some of this stuff so much that they just.
There's a preconceived notion there, but at the end of the day, we see scriptures like in Matthew where it talks about the heavier matters, the greater and the lesser laws and things like that. And we see a lot of people in the TO that they figured out the lesser, but they're still missing the greater.
They're not walking in love.
It's so much better to be having the greater and
That's
missing
it.
the lesser.
That's
you
it.
know, okay, you didn't wear tzitzis, but you were remembering. And things like that.
That's
right. Okay, we've got the tzitzis and that's good and that's supposed to help us. But if you're relying on those little things, I did Passover and I believe it was on the right day, and I wore tzitzis, Jeff. I grew out my beard. Okay, but if you don't love Yah, you don't love others, you're not walking with them.
Paul said you can understand all mysteries, you can understand all the things, but if you have not love, boom. Yeah.
Okay, good so stuff. By the strength of the hand, there's that hand and outstretched arm, that reference of Yeshua there, of Yahovah that brought you out from this place, reminding you, look, you didn't do it yourself.
I did this.
By my hand.
My hand.
There shall no unleavened bread be eaten, right? So this week, right, for the next 7 to 8 days, where we're going no pancakes, no muffins, we're gonna stay away from those things. Hopefully you've purged out your house. As we mentioned before, if you come across some things that you forgot or didn't notice, you got a beer in the fridge or something like that, go throw it away.
Yep.
Okay, so this day you came out of Aviv, right? This is the beginning of the year. It shall be Yahovah shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and look, he's mentioning all these tribes. He's letting them know, and they all have giants, right?
Every one of these names means something.
Right.
Oh, right. Well, maybe we'll get into that.
You want to do it?
No. We'll get into another video.
Okay, so you got Canaanites, Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. They've all got giants, which we swear unto thy fathers to give you. Talking about the land, right? A land flowing with milk and honey. Talking about the prosperity and how lush and all kinds of things.
I really want us to do a video on this, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll do it. 7 days you'll eat the unleavened bread. 7th day shall be a feast. So again, you have that first day and that 7th day of no work and things like that.
This is feast to the Jews.
Ending. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Feast to the Jews. That's what it says.
Right there.
The rest of Israel didn't even keep it.
No, it's just the Jews. It's just Judah and Benjamin
Right,
and the Levites.
And
That's it.
they already
Yeah.
knew that there was going to be a split.
They
up
already knew.
years ahead. They already knew about all of it, Jeff. But this is all for the Jews and
It's only the Jews.
not for anybody else.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
right.
it's a feast to the Lord,
Okay,
to
so
Jehovah. There you go.
unleavened bread shall be eaten. There shall be no leavened bread seen with you, neither shall be leaven seen within all your quarters. I would argue that means storehouses. So
Sure.
putting it in the warehouse. I saw again today one of those people asking, "Can I go put it? What about my meal prepping and stuff like
Nope.
that?" I'm like, man, you need to go to the Father and talk to him about this. But like, I feel like it's so obvious. You know what I mean? And
Is it yours? Do you own it?
right,
Is it your
right,
storage building?
Right. Is it within your property?
Are you wanting to
Right.
hold on to that
Right.
sin? That's the mental picture that I'm getting.
I'm gonna go give it to my neighbor and tell him to keep it,
Oh.
because that's an awesome testimony of Yah, right?
Yeah, here.
Listen,
hold on to
my God
sin.
doesn't want me to have bread.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. How weird is that gonna look, right? And then you've got the spiritual implication. But what an
Oh.
awesome testimony, Jeff.
Yeah,
Please hold on to this. Hide this bread from my God.
yeah, yeah.
He won't know.
And they're
he
like,
won't know.
What's
I'm
the
not
bread
going back and
represent?
I'll
It represents sin.
Well, let's not talk about that. just keep the bread. Please don't
Yeah.
eat it.
Can you hold on to my sin for a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I've got this feast going on
Oh,
with God.
yeah.
I'll take the sin
As
back
long as
next
it's
week.
not in my house. It's
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
I figure, you
Yeah,
know,
my sin can be at your
I'll
house
pay
for a
you.
little bit.
I'll pay you to keep my bread and my
Oh,
beer. Okay, so thou shalt show thy son in that day. This is done because Yahovah did unto me when I came out of Egypt. And
Yeah.
this is again the significance not just of what Yah has done, but a reminder so that the generations following can
Right.
understand of what he can do and what he is doing, but also so you can look at it in your own walk. Look,
Right.
as he's called your forefathers out of Egypt, he is calling you spiritually out of Egypt.
Out of Egypt.
You know, so you have the physical, but you have the spiritual. Keep this ordinance in the season from year to year, unless you're not Jewish, right? Isn't that what it says?
Yeah.
And it shall be when Yahovah shall bring you to the land of Canaanites, as he swear that he shall give it to you. You shall set apart to Yahovah, right? So this is that setting apart. This is when you're
Right.
going to do it. The first thing that comes from the beast of the male should be Yahovah's. And then it talks about all the different beasts and things and how you shall break his neck or if you're going to redeem it,
Right.
and things like that. So you've got the redemption and stuff like that. And there's an interesting thing I want to get into in that. I'm going to leave for 2 seconds. So I'm going to give you the chance to discuss whatever you want on this. Not right here.
Don't get there. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Right. So at every first of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou wilt not redeem it, this is verse 13, then thou shalt break his neck, and all the firstborn of man among the children shalt thou redeem. So think about the penalty. If you're not going to redeem it, then you got to break its neck. Think about the implications. And thou shalt be with thy son, asketh thee in thy time to come, saying, what is this? That thou shalt say to him, by strength of the hand of Yehovah, brought us out of Egypt from the house of bondage. This is twice that Yah has brought this up. This is one of the ways that the Hebrew writers, and I believe, God, obviously Yah dictated this, but this is one of the ways in Hebrew that you emphasize a point is you repeat. You repeat, you repeat, you repeat. So this is a big deal, guys. So, it's just like if you're sitting in school and the teacher says something twice, maybe 3 times, boy, it's going to come on the pop quiz, right? So these are some answers here that we need to pay attention to. And what is this thou asked thy son? What is this? Thou shalt say to him, by strength of the hand of Yehovah brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. It is important for us to know it is not by might nor by power, but by Yah's hand. It is his power. It is him that is bringing us out. It's by his anointing that we have any kind of prosperity, any kind of healing, any kind of deliverance, any kind of anything going on in our life. We have to understand it's by him. It's by his will. It's by his hand. And we need to understand and give that part praise to him, because too often we think, oh, that's just coincidence. That's just some kind of little happenstance thing that happened. But here we say, God is saying twice already, just in this one chapter, by my hand, I have brought you out.
I can't believe you're like right next to me, man. This is crazy.
Isn't this awesome? Yeah.
Okay, so you got the redemption. So one of the things I wanted to bring up before we keep moving forward, because we got some more things to discuss here. Were you in the middle of something? Did I just cut you off?
No, absolutely. I was just going to hit 15 and 16. It just says, when it came to pass, Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Yehovah slew all the first. It's just this recap. Again, what's in verse 16 again? Look at this. A token upon thine hand and the frontlets between thy eyes. What is this talking about? We see this again in Deuteronomy, right?
You see it multiple
We
places.
see multiple places for frontlets between your eyes. Does that mean that you're you're physically having to have a box up here. Well,
Yeah,
to
a
me,
box
that
of Saturn.
to me,
Cube of Saturn.
yeah, to me, that's not even in front before your eyes. This
No,
is
it's
talking
not.
spiritually.
It's not. It's above your
It's
view.
above your
so
view.
You don't even have to. You don't even have to see it.
Yeah,
You
it
just
takes
have
it
to-
away from your view.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I
no
don't wanna
longer.
get,
It's no.
so not everything our big brother Judah has learned is correct.
Right.
Can we just say that?
Yeah. All the tribes.
All the
We've all
tribes.
gotten, and these are some things that Judah's gotten wrong.
Yeah, and we all get things wrong, and we all kind of build our little fences and doctrines around them. Just like, again, I've said this before, every major revival that we see, people say, oh, this is it. This is the move of God.
Right.
I'm going to build a denomination around it. So I
Right.
pray that we don't do that with this Torah thing going on,
Yeah.
because this is just another part of the piece of puzzle that we've lost along the way. But again, it's all talking about his hand, and it's reminded us that we need to give him the glory, him the honor, him the praise. As we're coming out of Egypt, we have to understand it's by his might, it's by his will, it's by his anointing. Because guys, listen, we make the decision, we choose to come out, but it's through his help.
Yeah.
Because we can't do it on our own.
Right. Yeah. Well, you get the instructions, you put the blood on the doorpost and things
That's
like
right.
that, and you sup with the Father and you walk over the threshold through the covenant and things like this. But at the end
That's
of the day,
our part.
yeah, you're still doing that. But when you're doing that, you're trusting and having faith and hope.
Yeah.
Think about what the Israelites are thinking right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we had this weird sacrifice thing. They would have understood that it would have been a sacrifice. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of rabbis that argue about this, but at the end of the day, most of the very well-learned academics will not dispute the fact that the Israelites would have understood. There's too many hints on it, what they were supposed to do to not comprehend this as a sacrifice. Because you got some people saying, well, it wasn't about sin atonement, it wasn't this and wasn't that, and therefore it can't be about Yeshua. They would have known, Jeff.
They would have known.
There's too many things that have to do with the firstling lamb and it being unblemished and all these different instructions. This is sacrifice, and they knew that language. They understood that. And it was different than once prior. But
I really believe that this was a wake-up call to the children of Israel. They'd been in bondage, they'd been in captivity for all these years. They had been out of their element, right? And now they're in Egypt with all the foreign gods. They're doing all this stuff, and I think that they had begun to forget the ways of Yah.
yeah,
And I think this was a wake-up call to them. And I think they're going back to their grandpas and their grandmas and saying, hey, what was that about? What were we supposed to be doing? Because the whole idea of the Torah wasn't a new idea.
Right.
Abraham knew it.
Yep.
Adam knew it, right?
Yeah.
So
they were keeping jots and tittles, but they
right.
it said by ordinances.
By
Abraham
ordinances.
was keeping the ordinances and the statutes of
There
the
we go.
Torah. It
There we
literally
go.
says that in Scripture.
That's what it says.
And people want to look right past that.
That's
They don't
it.
realize
Yeah.
that what that means, Jeff.
Yeah. That's in the back of the book too.
Yeah.
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 So hallelujah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to bring that up. That's a big deal that we need to make sure we focus on in our life. If we try to come out of Egypt in our own strength, all right, we will fail. Right? Because I think that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the reasons that we see people stumble a lot in their walk, is they're trying to come out of Egypt in their own might and their own power, and then that's where we get messed up. So we do play a part in that. We acknowledge where we're at, and we start going forward with the sacrifice. We start going forward, doing what we can. Paul says, having done all, to stand.
Yeah.
Comes to a point where you can't do anything else. When they're backed up to the Red Sea, or Reed Sea, however you look at it, having done all, that's it. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
I got to
Now
stand.
what?
Yeah.
But you're walking in faith, you're walking
Yeah.
in hope, you're walking in trust, and then you let Yah do his thing.
Yeah.
So redemption of the firstborn, right? So there's a couple things before we move forward real quick.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have, I don't know if we're gonna have it in the live chat right now, but you've got the person that says, should I be trying to do that with my firstborn now? How should I be sanctifying my firstborn? Should I be doing
Right.
this with all my children?
Right.
What should I be? Obviously I shouldn't be killing an animal to redeem the child. So what am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
What should I do for redemption for my firstborn? I'm sorry, but we need to break it
Yeah.
down like that, because it's
Yeah.
easy to not even realize what we're saying and what we're thinking when we think things like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So what do you got, Jeff? What do you got on sanctifying the firstborn? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that they were setting them apart for Yah, as far as
What about for now? What about today?
today.
Right.
Oh.
For the listener today, live or otherwise, should they be sanctifying the firstborn? If so, what does that look like? What are your thoughts? Not to put you on the spotlight.
No, I
definitely
think but I think making some special arrangements, just like you're doing that with for inheritance. I think that we need to be doing that as an example, not only for their life, but also for the other kids to come, because these were big families. and they kids follow after the other kids, and they listen to the parents. But sometimes, just to be honest, they're like, oh, big brother, big sister. This is what they said. So definitely sanctifying them before y'all, and giving them that. Training them up, and getting them experience in how to walk in Yah. Can I just hit this just real quick? This may be controversial. You may even disagree with me on this. I think it's important to, as a child is growing up, to allow them to make some of those wrong decisions that will not permanently affect their life. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
Have some consequences.
But have some consequences to learn, because what we see. Listen, this is I was a pastor. I've been in ministry for over 30 years. How many of my ministry friends kept their kids so down that as soon as they got out from their covering, they went wild, dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So
PKs, man.
PKs.
Kids.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that we did with our kids growing up, is that we obviously we're not letting them go to satanic death cults and things like that, but we did allow them some freedoms in that, so that we could nurture them and grow them, and show them not only how to live for Yah, but also how to repent. A proper teshuva and a proper repentance. Yeah, and I think that's something that's missing, and I think that's part of sanctifying them to Yah, is that they can walk on their own with Yah and not just be totally reliant upon mom or dad.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, I was waiting to see where your end and tie-in with the same. That's solid, man. That is solid. And making sure, because you do, and you want that for all your children, but having that, when I had my daughter, my firstborn, I felt very strongly led, and I wasn't familiar with all the verses on this. I had read it enough till that when the Spirit had brought it to memory. I was like, oh yeah, Scripture does say that, but I hadn't studied that. So I was done away with. So why would I be studying about that? I read it and I understood that was the way then. But I'm a story guy. I'm a story time guy. I like to read about the Exodus because I'm looking at the stories, not the statutes and stuff like that. So my daughter was born, and I heard, tonight you will sanctify, you will anoint by praying over and dedicating it, and it was this understanding of not placing your child on an altar or whatever, but it was an understanding of I will bring my child before you, spiritually saying, this is yours before mine. This is your child before it is mine. That's good. And if you have instruction for this child that I wouldn't have done, your will be done, not my own. I'm not going to, and not that you don't do that with your other children, but that's what I felt led to do. So that's what I did. That's good. But no, that I love how you said, let them do that walk, because you want it to not be tainted by what you were instructed, because it's different. Abraham did not do the same things as Isaac, which did not do the same things as Jacob. They got specific instructions that differed a little bit. Not contradictive, but you're told when to go, where to go. You don't just do what your dad did. Right?
They need to hear. They need to be able to hear from Yah theirself, because it's so important. And I see this all the time with not only just pastor kids and things like that, but they're so used to, hey, I've got this issue. Let me call the pastor up. Let me call dad up. Let me call somebody. You know what? We need to teach them to hear the voice of God for themselves, because there's going to be a time when we're not here. There's going to be a time when I'm not available. There's going to be a time when they're the ones that need to pray the prayer of faith. And they need to be the one that makes that decision too. Because listen,
it's not just mom, dad said. However, I've been praying. I know this. I need to actually walk it out.
They get out amongst their friends later, and they're someone's saying, oh well, there's no way that Noah's Ark could hold all the animals. Hey, let me give you a little insight here. And then they are speaking from what they have learned. It's not just what they've heard from mom and dad. I think that's so important.
And there's so many ways you could go with that. So real quick, right before we move on to the really cool, fun story time stuff.
Story time.
Yeah, man, that's my bread and butter. Man. I love the story time, and that's how I get into it. And that's I see Yah's hand on it, but I love reading the story. If it was just instructions, I don't think I'd be so much, okay, this is how I live my life, but we get story time. I love story time. Okay, so before we get into that real quick, the understanding and the agreement was when you get to the promised land, right? And it's talking about the sanctification of the firstborn and things like that. When they get to the wilderness, fast forward past what we're doing for this study, just to throw a hint out there for anybody who hasn't studied it out and wants to get into it. Going for the tabernacle, and we talked about this a couple of videos ago, about it was the firstborn that were allowed past a certain point, right? And then when they messed up with the golden calf, that no longer was the case, and the firstborn was redeemed by a replacement.
Right.
And I wanted to emphasize that because Yah had the option to wipe out all of Israel right there.
He wanted to.
And he thought about it.
He's like Moses.
And Moshe was like, you know, it's going to look like the enemies are going to see it. And he reminded Yah of the promise. And it's not that Yah forgot, but Moshe's like, you said this. And if you do this, the world, you know, the Gentiles are going to look at us, and, you know, the Goyim, whatever, the non-Israelites are going to look at us and say, oh, their Yah carried them through Egypt, and they didn't even.
They snuffed them out.
Yeah, and it was not glory to the Yah, to the enemies.
Right.
So Yah said, okay, the Levite now.
Yeah.
They are mine. They are my firstborn, and I think a lot of people don't realize that this was the replacement, and this was the redeeming of that. It was that, or destroy all of Israel. So according to the ways of Yah, this was the only way.
Right.
You know, just like the redemption of a divorced spouse.
Oh, I was wondering if you were going to bring that up.
There's all kinds of things that you have to consider there. You know, for anybody who hasn't caught it, Jeff, if you want to give them. Since you're enjoying it, if you want to run it down real quick, you can do it, or we can move forward.
Well, this is the change in the law that we see in the book of Hebrews, that where we see God coming in and saying, hey, there's going to be a little change. So I believe that we have a God that changes not, but we do see a change in the book of Hebrews, and this change is getting us back out of plan B, back into plan A through Yeshua, our mediator.
Right.
And he's saying, you know what? The Levitical priesthood was plan B. I wanted you all. I wanted a kingdom of priests, not a kingdom with a group of priests, right? And I think this is while I definitely do not believe in dispensationalism, but I do believe this is one of the times that God said, you know what? We had an issue come up. I corrected it with a temporary measure. And then when Yeshua comes, I'm bringing it back around to plan A. And I think that's a good thing. That's where I was going with them.
That's good. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the comment of the divorced spouse, the whole the Torah understanding that you can't remarry after divorce. And well, you know, we have the 10 tribes were divorced, and this is why Judah and Benjamin and some of the Levites were like, no, you can't be talking about the lost sheep of Israel. They understood these things. A lot of people don't understand these things. When Yeshua said, go preach to the lost house, the lost sheep of Israel, he was talking about the other tribes.
The 10 tribes.
And they knew who they were. If you look through the book of Acts, you'll see that there were synagogues in multiple places outside of that area, and they knew. The disciples knew which tribe they came from.
Yeah.
So 2,000 years ago, people knew which tribe they were from, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, the understanding was you can't remarry after a divorce, and Yah said he divorced from the 10 tribes unless the death of a spouse. Well, if Yeshua if he's God.
Right. Come on, let's just say that.
But how else would that work?
It doesn't work if he's not God, guys.
Okay,
I'm just throwing it out there.
I didn't want to get too heavy into it, but that's one of those things for me is where it's like, well, then how do you reconcile this?
Because it doesn't.
Because he brought that 10 tribes in.
You can't have agency there.
Right.
Come on.
I'm saying, Jeff. I'm saying. Yeah, Jeff and I are very much on one side of the fence on this. We've got love for others on the other side.
Love you guys.
Have friends and things like that.
No problems.
You know, but you know, we also like to, you know, just like they'll try to reach us with their views, we're going to try to reach them with our views.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, so we got the Levites and the redemption of the firstbborn, and those are the things I wanted to bring up. Now, story time. Are you ready for story time?
Oh, brother, let's go.
End of 13 and 14. So it came to pass when Pharaoh, did we talk about this? What Pharaoh means?
I think we did.
Did we? Okay, so Pharaoh, when you're looking at Hebrew, it means the mouth. Right. Oh, it was the mouth that brings forth and commands, right? So I was thinking about this, Jeff, because in our Daniel studies, when you look at like the Babylonian empires and things like this, when you look at Daniel and situations like that, it was order of decree. It was written word. When you look at the book of Esther, the king would speak with his mouth, but they would signify it with a signet ring, which could be passed on to an ambassador and things like that. Right. And they would put out in documentation, they would write it out, and that's how they made their decree known. Yeah. Well, in Egypt, what Pharaoh said goes, and it was not an emphasis on it needing to be sealed with a ring or written, at least not in the text that we're seeing in Exodus here. And, you know, so that's we have to think about that when you have Moshe and Aharon and the elders, at least for once or twice, right? Sitting there trying to just have this discussion with Pharaoh. Yeah. They wanted him, they needed him to say, your people can go, because his word was that binding contract.
Right.
So I think that's very interesting, because I just wanted to bring that up some point in the series if I haven't already. That paro, you have that mouth that speaks.
So Cecil B. DeMille's missed it a little bit with Yul Brynner, where he says, "So let it be written, so let it be done."
Did he?
Yeah, that's a big thing, but that's missing.
That'd be a Hebrew thing, not an Egyptian
right.
thing.
That's but the Egyptian thing was spoken.
Yeah, spoken and it's done, and that's why they were waiting. And you look at all of these, and Pharaoh would say, and then he'd take it back, which kind of shows he was not a man of his word.
No,
he was not one that could be one with his word.
But he's not a God.
Right.
So
even though he thinks he is.
yeah, because God said, "I'm not a man that I can lie."
Right.
There we go.
I changed my mind. Right.
Okay, that's it.
So Pharaoh said, "Let the people go," and Yah had led them through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, right? He didn't lead them that way, and that's north, okay? So there's pictures that we could pull up, and there's all kinds of differing views on the different travels, and I didn't want to get too much into that, but there was a couple comments I was going to make.
Okay.
But the way of the Philistines would have been north, right? So they could have easily, and it would have been a faster trip, a shorter trip,
right,
to just go through the north straight towards what we now call Israel, what would have been considered Canaan back then.
Right.
But Yah led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, that was closer. For God, Elohim said, "Lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return back to Mitzrayim."
They weren't ready.
Right. They weren't ready for war. But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, or some would say Reed Sea, and there's different views on.
Can we stop just real quick? Just that let's peradventure the people repent when they see war. So we see that they weren't ready here to make that straight shot up into Canaan, right? They did grow. They lost some baggage. And we just call it like that. They lost some baggage. Like the generation died out in the wilderness.
Right.
But even
multiple generations.
Right. But even when they went into the promised land with Joshua, they didn't take the whole. They didn't take the whole thing at one time.
No.
It said as they could possess the land.
Right.
So I think that's important. That and listen, guys. So Yah's not going to give you everything, all your life's picture, everything. That's something that Miranda and I were talking about just the other day. We were talking about, God, show me show me this. And, Yah's like, you couldn't handle it if I actually showed you what we're going to do. I'm going to grow you. And as you grow, watch this, as we grow in him, he's able to show us more and more because we're able to receive and
perceive it better,
because we're not going to run away.
Something interesting here is Yah is not leading them through the land of the Philistines, the land of the giants, strongholds and dominions. Come on, spiritual warfare,
That's
right?
It.
But listen, so maybe in the beginning of the walk, or maybe there's certain parts of your journey where Yah will guide you away from certain spiritual warfare because he feels that you are not ready. Maybe you're still on milk or not meat, or maybe you're just in that department not ready. But at the end of the day, they were called to a battle that they said no to, and that is why it starts becoming this long journey of 40 years instead of 2 weeks.
Right. Because at a certain point, God says, you know what, you're ready.
Right.
And they're like, we're not ready.
Go to this mountain and fight them. What was it, the Amorites or something like that? Yeah. And they chose not to. Yeah. And then they want to go when God has changed the green light.
God's like, no, I'm not doing it.
Red light, green light, but they got it backwards.
Yeah.
They're told to go and they say no.
And then they run out.
Don't go, and then they go. And he said, I told you not to go.
And they just
but my point is for our walk, there might be a time where we're led away from a battle because we feel we're not ready, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to have you come across battles,
right?
Or maybe even similar battles, or maybe even that same enemy. And when it comes time, there's consequences when we shy.
We may feel that we're not ready, but listen, if God is putting you in that place,
then it's time.
It's time. It is time for you to, cinch up your Pampers and get after it.
It's not up to us to choose when we go away from the Philistines,
right?
Or when we're called to go up the mountain of the Amorites.
I wanted to say something else, but I can't until we get down here. But yeah.
Okay, so the children of Israel went up and harnessed out of the land of Mizraim. Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straightly sworn the children of Israel. So that's something they did remember over the 400 years that was passed down.
Right.
And so Moshe would have received that, heard that, understood it, would have understood the grave and severity there. And Yah probably would have put it on his heart. Hey, go get Joseph's bones. That was promised. That was an oath. God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. You said you had something you wanted on that.
No, down here, verse 21.
I thought you were talking about that verse.
No,
I was like,
21.
and plus.
No.
So they took their journey, and it says from Sukkot, right? And we can go over to Numbers chapter 33, and you'll see that originally that Sukkot would have been that first stop after what we see in Scripture is now being referred to the annexed portion of Ramses, but we believe it would have been Avaris. But what would now be called Ramesses, right? And if you don't know about that, you can go back in further videos. We talk a little bit about that. We're not going to go over that. So this is their first stop. Okay, they took their journey from Sukkot. So you have Avaris to Sukkot, And then from Sukkot to Etham, right, in the edge of the wilderness. And it says, and Yahovah went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them by the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. Okay, I've got some things on that, but do you want to pause there or do a couple more?
No, I'd like to pause right. And you can, if you want to read verse 22, you can.
Okay. He took away not the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
So I think it's important for a couple of things, and you may already have some of this as well. They're in a desert.
Right. Oh, you're gonna go with okay, go for it. Do it.
So they're in a desert, and guys, there is no shade.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Texas. Guys, it gets hot in Texas, and it's 115 in the shade. Well, there's no shade, right? And you've got your kids out there. You've got babies. You've got all of your cattle. You've got your elders. You've got all this
Egyptians that decided to join.
You've got all this stuff going on. You're trying to conserve water. Yeah. Can we talk about that? We're trying to conserve water and all this stuff. And so what does God do? He provides a pillar of cloud. He has covered them with a cloud by day.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
So there, we know there was at least 10 Israelites that left Egypt, right? At least 10. I'm being facetious, right? It's a big number.
Yeah, we're talking more. So most people that do the history on this and patterns of evidence breaks it down, but we're looking at anywhere from 2 to possibly 4 million people. In that mixed multitude.
How big was this cloud providing shade?
Oh, I know it.
To this people.
I know it, Jeff.
And how did they know when it was time to move?
Because it would move.
You're sitting there, we just got here, man. We're unpacking our tent. I've got Joseph over here. He's herding up the sheep. There's that couple of ducks that wandered off. We're going around getting all this stuff back together. We're setting up stuff. And now we've been here for a little bit, man. And this great God has brought us out. Oh, this is so great. This is great, man. We're like high-fiving, and all of a sudden we start seeing the cloud move.
It's moving.
Yeah. There was not an email that went out to everybody at 6 a.m. we're going to start moving. No,
right. That
cloud starts to move, and you have a responsibility right then. You have a choice. I can get up and I can follow the cloud, or I can stay here and die.
Right.
Yea, though I walk through, somebody say through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah, the shadow of death. It's not even death.
Come on.
How many times do people not even stop and look at that? That's not even death. It's the shadow of death. Because you're not getting eternal death. You're not. Right? Not if you're walking with God. Not if you trust him and love him and you're with him.
Yeah.
Then you're walking through the shadow of death. You're seeing the imagery. You're seeing a two-dimensional of the 3 or 4th dimensional reality.
Right.
You're seeing the outline.
Yeah.
And it might be scary, but it's the shadow of death, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And so we have the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Now there's some defensive stuff going on here too, but it's a desert.
Yeah.
Deserts are freezing cold at night. Right? There's no big stones to hold in the heat from the day. It's sand. Right? It's just immediately gone, and it's cold. And so not only are they getting light, right? How cool is that? Right?
Sure.
They love the nightlife. They like the boogie. I'm just kidding. So they've got this pillar of fire by night that's not only providing protection. We'll read that here in a little bit, but it's also providing heat. It's also providing light.
Yeah.
And it's also providing hope.
Yes.
Both of these provide.
It's the title of the video tonight, by the way. I don't know if I told you.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Hope. That's right.
Hope.
Yeah. So the cloud by day and the fire by night. This was a constant reminder to the children of Israel. Hope is right here. Yah, his mighty hand. And remember, he talked about that so many times in the verses right before. My mighty hand is bringing you out of Egypt. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to sit before you day and night, the presence of hope.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, man. It's funny that you bring that up because I remember I argued this along with a couple other things. I remember when I first came across this because Yah was like, why it's a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire? And in my head, I was seeing that image of just a column in front of you. Wasn't even thinking about how that would block your view.
Right.
I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't thinking that I'm out there. I'm just trying to understand what I see. And you see that in the movies. You get the cloud and it just goes straight up. And so then I started thinking, well, maybe it goes up and then over, and so there's different things. But I remember when Yah told me, and it was years ago, but it was and it was so cool because every time I brought this up to people, usually people didn't catch this. So I think it's so funny you brought that up. Then, the cloud for the shade, for the heat, and the fire for the, and when that clicked for me, I was like, oh my gosh, because I spent time overseas in the Middle East.
Oh, that's right.
I
You know about a desert.
I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And now Iraq doesn't have desert as much as like Egypt. My mom went to Egypt, and she would understand that a lot better than I would. But I do know the difference of the day and the night, and how you do need heat during one, and how you need some shade during the other, and how very miserable and unbearable it can be, especially if you're not adapted to that. But I mean, they're moving here. Yeah. Okay. So maybe they're used to Egypt, but I mean, they're on the go now.
They're on the go. And Goshen was lush.
Okay, so there's verses, Jeff, that say, "On an eagle's wing I led you," and that's something I wanted to bring up tonight because we're about to get into this real quick. But I love that you brought up the pillar of cloud, the pillar of fire. Let's get out of that image in our mind of just a stacked column in front of you, and that's
like
only
a whirlwind.
That is literally just so that you can see. We need to be looking at all the purposes here. We get to see the grace and love of Yah. Okay, so I want to talk about this, Jeff. Yeah. So Sukkot was the first stop, and then Etham. Yep. Okay. Moving to chapter 14. Yep. Yahovah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel that they turn and encamp." And we're going to talk about the word encamp here for a second. Before Pi Hahiroth, between Migdal and the sea, over against Baal Zephon, right? Before it shall be ye encamped by the sea. Okay, so we have 3 stops there, Jeff. Right. Okay, Jeff. Jeff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So listen.
I hadn't thought about that.
They had the Pesach meal. Yeah. 14th going into the 15th. Yep. Okay. Now remember what I said. Remember I kept saying there's an emphasis on in the morning of the 3rd day. Right. Okay. Now, so you have a few stops here. Right. And if you count it out, there's a chance here that we're looking at first fruits being this crossing. Wow. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say that it's 100% that, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm convinced that that's what it is. So now we need to talk about encamping here. Okay. So let's look at the word encamp, because it's often assumed that means that they stopped, they slept for the night and things like that. But Jeff, didn't it say that they were guided by a cloud during the day and by fire at night so that they could travel both day and night? Right. Yeah. So they weren't necessarily stopping and spending all night at each of these campings. No. Okay. So if we go over to Numbers 33, okay, and we see that it says the children of Israel, starting in verse 5, they removed from Ramesses Avaris and pitched in Succoth, right? And we looked at that word pitched as well as in camp, and you get the same understanding. Okay, it means that you're stopping and you're setting up tents and stuff. It means to decline. It means to take a break. Right. It says abode for a while, to abide in camp, dwell, stop and eat. Yeah. Maybe you get to nap and stuff like that. It's not like they're going 3 days without sleep and stuff like that. But I just want to suggest that maybe this doesn't mean pitched, that it doesn't mean that they spent the whole night. Right. Especially if we see that they were traveling by day and by night. Right. And we have verses that tell us that they moved on an eagle's wings. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but if you look at from Avaris to the patterns of evidence, believed location of the crossing of the Red Sea versus Reed Sea. Because usually with Reed Sea, you're looking at Suez versus Aqaba. And there's this whole thing that usually seems to be this understanding of well, it was very low ground, the water wasn't very high. Okay. It's a convenience. You know what? God's not doing a miraculous.
If you believe that, hats off to your great faith. Hang on, because you believe that Pharaoh and his whole army drowned in water about this deep.
Marshland. They're like only 20 miles away, mind you. They're going up. They're going up, and they're like stops, but it's only 20 miles. You could walk 20 miles in less than a day. Come on now.
They're walking up and like they're trying to drown themselves. They're like, here, I got to drown my horse.
Yeah.
No, that's great faith, but it's not accurate.
Yeah, it's often the unbeliever that argues the Gulf of Suez there. Yeah. But so here's the thing. So you've got, if they're not spending the whole night, right? Because I was looking at this and I was like, all bummed out that they went from Avaris to Sukkot to Etham, and then it says that they had again camped, departed from Pi Hahiroth, right, in the midst of the sea, the wilderness. So it shows that they had camped there, removed from Etham, turned again, right, and they pitched before. And I was thinking pitched meant they spent the night. Right. So I was like, oh, there goes my 3 days and 3 nights. Right. From the morning of the 15th, moving into the travel, but they were traveling at night. Yeah. They were traveling at night. And pitch does not mean that they spent all night. Right. Pitch means that they stopped and set up tent. Okay, so you do get to rest, right? Yeah. Maybe some hours, but not throughout all the night. Maybe they stopped a little bit early, had dinner, slept for a little bit, and then got back up and were moving at night. And if that's the case, then you've got 3 days and 3 nights here with the stops. Well, because this last stop would not have been overnight.
Well, and Baal Zephon means Baal
Yeah,
of
Lord.
winter.
Yeah, yeah, and you also
Yeah.
have that.
The
If you look at
coldness.
Baal-zephon, it was also the god of the north and things like that.
Right.
There's real interesting verses on that when you start looking at the northern kingdoms moving and
Right.
things like that. Just like how we talked about the eastern kings coming in.
Right.
There's some interesting things about that, especially when you look at like Daniel and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so I just wanted to point out those stops there because I'm convinced, Jeff, and I can't 100% prove it, but
Yeah.
it seems to me they leave the morning of the 15th. They stop at the evening of the 15th, going into the 16th at Sukkot. Right? Tabernacles, right?
Right.
And then the next, in the middle of that night, they get up, they've rested, they're moving on, and then they stop at the evening of the 16th at Etham, right? Okay, Etham. They sleep for a little bit, they get up in the middle of the night of that, moving on to the next day, which is now 17th, right? And they're moving from Etham, and they're going towards, and then they turn around and come back and then pitch, and they stop, and then this is where you're moving into the end of that, coming into that morning of. Right now, look at this, Jeff. Go back to 14. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Numbers 14. I was like, what? That's talking about Joshua. We don't talk about Joshua yet.
Not yet.
Okay. So Pharaoh will say that he'll see them moving back Pi Hahiroth, right? That's that mouth of the gorges. It's that spot where they had 3 different gulfs going there, right? Between Migdol and the sea, Migdol being tower.
Right.
So there's some spiritual language there going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at this, I don't know if we ever discussed this, but I'd love to do a video on tower, palace, and synagogue or place of worship, temple. Tower, temple, and palace, because all throughout scripture you'll see that a stronghold and a dominion, whether it's physical or not, always have these 3 items, and you see the instructions for the Hebrews to build up a tower, a palace, and so when you start seeing these things and you start looking at the
spiritual implications,
and then you look at the order of the garter, crown order.
Oh man.
The 3 sovereign city states.
Right.
You have Vatican.
Right.
London and DC. Vatican, that would be your temple.
Yeah.
London, that would be your palace.
Yeah.
Where they still have kings and queens.
Right.
And DC, that's your military, your tower, your fortress.
Wow.
Right. So your 3 things there. So there's all kinds of things here that are being discussed here that they're stopping between Migdol and the sea. They have the tower and the sea. Right? And there's some spiritual language there of military tactics and things that are being.
That's interesting.
So yeah,
nice.
I know.
Nice.
My friend and I, Aaron, years ago did a study on this, and I never did a video. Over against Baal-zephon, so they're up against, across from, facing towards, facing down the god of the north, the god of the winter and things like that, right?
Wow.
And it should be before you camp by the sea. So they're setting up temple, and now they're getting ready to figure it out. Pharaoh will say to the children of Israel, they are tangled in the land, right? Because they turned back. The wilderness has shut them in. They don't know where they're going. I will harden Pharaoh's heart that he will follow after them. I will be honored by Pharaoh upon all his hosts, that the Egyptians may know that I am Yahovah. And they did so. So they chasing after them, and it was told the kingdom of Egypt, the Mizraim, that the people fled. And the heart of Pharaoh and his servants, look at that, continuing on from halfway through those plagues there. It's not just the Pharaoh now. Pharaoh and his servants were turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this? Why did we let them go from serving us? Our economy's crashing. I added that last part. But come on now, right? Yeah. Our economy's crashing. Yeah. Why did we let them go? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. So was Pharaoh actually physically there? It seems like quite possibly. And he took 600 chosen chariots. Chariots can hold more than one person, keep in mind.
600 chariots.
Yeah, a chariot for every, I mean, if you're looking at almost 6 million people, then you need at least 600 chariots to drive them down, right? You've got archers on the chariot, you've got spear throwers on the chariot, you've got some sword people who can jump off, some dismounts.
It's something different here, though. Watch. It says 600 chosen chariots and all the chariots of Egypt.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, they got a special
He is like
fleet.
He is like all in. He's got his special forces out there.
And everybody else too.
Yeah.
He's
they've
all got the guys with the pitchforks, and they've got their tanks.
That's it.
What you need, sweetheart? No, don't come.
Where is the tablets?
The tablets are next to the couch, and that thing that has the teeter-totter thing.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. My daughter and her tablets, she's got like these learning lessons and stuff like
that.
That's
cool,
man.
Man.
Why we let her go on there, and
that's good.
She's got some games that we've approved of that are not,
Nice.
Okay, so you chosen chariots and the chariots of Mizraim, right? And the captains over every one of them. So Yahovah hardens the heart of Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with a high hand, right? The heads up high hand. The hand. Yeah. That's not a Hitler.
Right.
Reference that I'm doing. Okay. I don't want.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are talking about the Jews only. Right?
There we go.
It's not Israel. It's not us. We're not included in this.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. No, but the high hand. When you look at that in Hebrew, you're looking at a understanding of their
strength.
they're built up. The hand of Yah is upon them. This is your heads up high because you've got that strength, like you said. Okay, so the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea. So they caught up to them, right, beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-zephon. I might be butchering that. I'm going off with the best I can here. Okay. So Pharaoh drew nigh, and the children of Israel lifted up their eyes. So from a distance, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto Yahovah, just like right before Moshe went into Pharaoh. To see him, they're crying out to Yahovah again. They're seeking him. And they said to Moshe, because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Okay, now look, it didn't hit me until this week, Jeff. There's no graves in Egypt because they just used them for all their firstborn.
Yeah.
Wow. It hadn't hit me till this week because I was like, why would you even bring that up? I always saw it as the sarcastic tone of language of like, why would Yah bring us out here? If did he not like the graves in Egypt? No, they were filled up. That's why they're saying there's no graves. So maybe this was a legit concern in their mind of like, Yah's already decided we've messed up. We're gonna die. He brought us up just because only because there's no graves, because they're being used. They're filled up.
Yeah. Wow.
They're filled up. Even some of their cattle would have been using that. We see mummification of certain animals.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So the graves the graves are used.
Yeah.
Jeff, there were no actual graves at this time.
Yeah.
They've all been used up.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you thought about that, but it didn't hit me till this week. I was like, oh snap.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. So that we should die in the wilderness. Beginning of grumbling. They haven't even crossed the river.
Man, I'm telling you, look at this. Examine your heart. Is this how you deal with God? I'm telling you, this is a big deal. We need to really make sure we understand that God does not like grumbling. He doesn't like complaining. It's okay that if you don't understand things, it's okay that if you have an area where you're maybe upset with God or upset with something that's going on that you don't fully understand. But guys, listen, watch that thing that's below your nose, because it can get you in a lot of trouble with God. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if all you have is complaining and griping and grumbling that's coming out of your mouth, that's what's the majority in your heart.
Yeah.
So that's a red flag that you need to say, you know what? I need to do some heart surgery. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's no graves in Egypt, man.
Man, that's a trip, dude.
That hit me this week, and I was
that's
like,
a trip.
How is it 9 years into this? And I'm just realizing now that there probably literally was no graves.
Right.
I really saw it as sarcasm. Okay.
Yeah.
So is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? Did we not say just leave us alone?
Yep.
Right. This reminds me of that one with Elisha that was like, did I not tell you I didn't need a firstborn, and now the firstborn, my child's died.
Yep.
Well, the child was resurrected.
Yeah.
But did we not say leave us alone? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. But what are they actually saying, Jeff? It would be better that we serve the Egyptians instead of Yah.
Right.
Isn't that what they're saying?
Exactly
That's
what
their heart is saying.
Yeah.
Like when Yah called out from the mountain,
and
it was supposed to be a nation of priests. They said, no, send up a mediator.
We can't handle this.
We can't, because we'll die.
We'll die.
Yah is giving them the instructions, the words for life.
Yes.
And their heart, being implicated by their mouth, says, your words are death to me.
Yeah, it's because
I'm not going to walk in your light.
They were not intimate with Yah.
Right.
Your
words will condemn me because I'm not going to follow them.
I see this as Matthew 7:21.
Okay.
Many say to me, Lord, Lord, right?
Yeah.
Shall we not?
But I never knew you.
But I never knew you. And if they had taken the time to get intimate with Yah, they had time, people.
They had 3 days in the wilderness.
They've got 3 days. They've got 3 days in the wilderness with this cloud by day and fire by night.
Proof of the protection and sovereignty of Yah.
Not only the year and a few days or however long of all these things that are going on, that these were just coincidences.
Now there's no distraction.
There's no
They've
distraction.
Been pulled out. They've been extracted. They never thought that was actually
They should have had some intimate time with Yah and clearly saw where they're at, but instead you see out of the abundance of their heart, their mouth is speaking right here. And listen, that's.
I would say they had 3 days and 3 nights, Jeff. And I think on the morning of that third day, after having left, because the night before, right, that they had their tongue, Jeff. They had their sign of Jonah, Jeff.
They did.
They had it.
They did.
Do you like that though?
Man, that's good.
Dude, first fruit.
That's awesome.
I really think that's
pretty cool.
I know. I didn't.
That's pretty cool.
That was like 2 days ago. That was like a day or two ago. I was sitting there going through, and I was like, I don't have anything for the video.
Yeah.
And then I saw that, and I was like, thank you. That's awesome,
Nice.
Okay, so and I was sitting there thinking, because if we see the Passover story, shouldn't we be seeing first fruits in the story too?
Right. You should.
I couldn't see anything other than that. So that was the only one that made sense.
So an interesting thing is that like in olden times when they would do around Yeshua's time frame, right? We're not even talking like modern Judaism, but when they would go and they would do the Passover, we have evidence that they did not even have the whole Seder thing going on. They didn't have the Haggadah. They didn't have any of this stuff. That's just way later.
Yeah.
And so before, the emphasis, Passover was just a sacrifice. It was just a meal.
Yeah.
The emphasis was on unleavened bread.
Yeah.
The emphasis was on all this other. I mean,
you only have three things that were mentioned in the instructions.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's the whole idea. And then slowly through time, the emphasis got off of first fruits and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it just got into Passover.
Right.
But listen, this is tying it all in with this journey. Dude, I'm like
I know, I'm telling you,
nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
okay, so the Egyptians are catching up, right? And the Israelites are saying, "You're going to let us die in the wilderness." They're already moaning and groaning, but they're already lacking faith and hope and trust, right?
So we mentioned before that Moshe was an apostle. He's also operating in the office of a pastor, a shepherd, right here,
as well as a prophet.
And a prophet, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's the first pastor that we see, and my gosh, he has a flock of a couple million, and most of them hate him. Most of them are griping and complaining.
Yeah.
Oh,
why are you coming to me? How many times do we see Moshe say that? Why are you coming to me? You could go to the Father yourself.
Right.
He's sitting there going, man, maybe I should just throw the staff down again and see what happens.
That's right.
And I can run from it, and they can run from it. And, throw it away. I'm done with this. And y'all deal with the snakes or alligators, crocodiles, whatever comes out of this.
That's it, man.
Okay, so Moshe says to the people, "Fear not, stand still. See the salvation, Yeshua.
The Yeshua.
See the Yeshua of Yehovah.
That's it. Come on. That's
which
it.
He will show to you."
How can they not? How can they not see it?
I know. So see the Yeshua of Yehovah, which He will show to you this day.
Yeah.
For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever.
No more.
He's speaking prophetic here.
No more forever.
And so Yehovah shall fight for you, and He shall hold your shalom. You shall hold your shalom.
Yeah.
Keep your peace. Stay quiet. Trust and watch.
Yeah.
We're now at the end of the road. This is God's time.
Having done all to stand.
Everything. Why would you?
Yeah.
What, 3 days and 3 nights of walking?
3 nights.
So speaking of, Jeff.
Yeah.
That from Avaris to this point, which is believed to and there's multiple locations on an understanding here.
Right.
But whether you go with patterns of evidence like I do or not, either way, at a 3 mile per hour typical average walk,
right,
you're going to get there in under 3 days.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm just saying, for anybody who's sitting there going, "There's no way they did it in 3 days and it was multiple weeks," because before I brought that out in the video today, I was thinking all the academics, all the professionals are going to shoot down my first fruits theory here because I haven't seen anybody else say this. This is I'm not saying nobody else.
But most people think that they go the northern route, which is further. They go all this other stuff.
We're told they didn't go.
Absolutely.
We're told they didn't go north.
Maybe we should follow the book. I don't even know.
I'm just saying.
Right.
But, I kept thinking, I was like, man, someone's going to throw all the academics. I definitely shouldn't even propose this theory of mine because I've never seen anybody else say it. And if nobody else said it that I'm aware of, and I've watched a lot of people, then there's probably proof that it's not true. So I wasn't going to even bring it up, Jeff. And I kept thinking, I was like, well, I'm going to suggest that it's a theory if I can even see that they could make it in 3 days.
Sure.
Because I was thinking that's going to be the first argument is that they spent more time. Well, we're only giving 3 encampments other than the one where they stopped right before the sea splits.
Yeah.
So if you're assuming that that's not a whole nother day, then you're looking at 3 days.
And this is how they would.
Experts are saying the journey would only take in 3 days if they're moving day and night, keeping an average pace, not all day and all night. This is not 72 hours.
We see where they rested. We see where they rested. Yeah.
But if we're not seeing that as they stopped for dinner and they didn't leave again until after the sun's already been up the next day.
Karen C agrees with us. There we go.
That's what 30. Yeah. So we're looking at not as bad as what we would think. And like I said, Scripture says that He moved them like on an eagle's wing. So if you're sitting there thinking there's no way that was in 3 days, that's my proposed theory.
Well, and
I don't know if Staley or any of the other guys said this. I haven't seen it though.
Another important thing to get them moving this 3 miles an hour, consistently. The Bible says that He brought them out with a mighty hand, and there was not one feeble among them.
Yes, that's true. That is true, Jeff. They did say that as well.
Oh.
So I'm just saying. Yeah. I think this is first fruits we're looking at.
I'm there.
Look. Okay. So fear not, stand. Okay. And Yehovah said to Moshe, "Why are you crying unto me? Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel." It's no longer time for speaking, but in faith doing. speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. Tell them to move forward. But lift up thy rod.
Yeah.
Do, right? Speak and do. I got to be careful with my hand movements.
There you go.
People are really going to think I'm doing something weird.
Yeah.
Stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it.
Yeah.
And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will give my honor to Pharaoh. I will give me honor of Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I said give.
Yeah.
That's not what he did.
Yeah.
Okay, upon all his posts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Jehovah, when I have gotten me my honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of Yah, right, the angel of Elohim, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them now. The pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
Wow.
Okay, and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud of darkness to them, but it gave light by night to the Israelites, so that the two could not come together all that night, because you're going into the morning of the third day, Jeff. Okay, now look. Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahovah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind, just like the movement of the because it's about to be judgment, not on Israel, but on Egypt, right? Okay, so you have that east wind, the strong east wind, all that night, right, and made the sea dry land. So anybody who thought, well, the water split, but how's the ground dry? Because it was an overnight process. I personally believe into the morning of that third day.
Right.
And just like how you see with the mountain, just like I would argue with the crucifixion state, I would say is here as well. You have that third day in the morning. In the morning. So look, the waters were divided, and the children went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them to their right hand or left hand. Real quick. Okay, so wall. We're looking at this Aqaba.
Right.
And there's proposed theories on where it was, if it was more towards the edge or not, but no matter what, we're talking half a mile down.
Yeah.
To hit the ground
huge.
of this sea.
Yeah.
Half a mile, Jeff.
That's a lot.
Were these waters kind of like the movies? Are you the guy that believes it goes straight up, or do you think that they just abated off to the side?
Oh, I'm straight up.
Yeah.
I'm straight up.
How amazing.
I think. Because
it says a wall. Are
wall.
we talking possibly half a mile?
No, I would say probably more.
You think so?
Yeah,
because it's being pushed.
Because it's being pushed up.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
Yeah.
So there's differing views. Those who don't like to accept the extreme, they'll listen to you and I and say the fringe upon fringe, and they say it's nonsense.
Yeah.
At the very least, you can look at it and see that this east wind, and look at where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Not just the text here, but look at where it's coming from in the terms of the map. I'm not going to get into all of that. That's for you guys to go study out for yourself.
How much wind? How harsh was this wind?
It said strong.
That's right. To dry
the ground
underneath.
Yeah.
Think about
that. We're talking soaked soil.
And they we have imagery that have been taken by satellites and stuff, but that show this shelf.
Yeah.
That's that's a half a mile down.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that's spoiling it, guys, but if you watch Patterns of Evidence, the miracle of the Red Sea crossing,
which there's 1 and 2 parts too.
There is 4K definition of underwater footage where you can go down and you literally see chariot wheels.
Yeah. Well, and then so the people say, how do you know that's chariot wheels? Okay, well, first off, in that area, based on that water in that area, moss and things like that don't grow.
Right.
Unless there's something for them to grow on.
Right.
Okay, they have sand bottoms to this. There's unless you put something in there, which is exactly the shape of a chariot with its wheels for it to have moss growing on it.
I'm telling you what,
have those aren't going to form naturally, is what I'm saying.
And when they show the ones with multiple spokes, and then they show that one, there's only one set that's got 4 spokes, brother.
I know it, Jeff. I know it. I know. And there's pillars.
Yes.
That represent where they probably crossed, because that was a Hebrew way of doing things, a pillar of remembrance of an entrance and an exit. So we believe that there's good proof as to exactly where it
came across.
And you can see it in the ground too, that it was different from the ground other than, and so you can see that pass, and it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So anyways,
so many things here, guys.
It's such a cool imagery though.
It is.
Can
you imagine? I mean, you're walking down through, and it's not just like a paved highway. I mean, I'm sure it's contoured. There's some boulders. Donkey said that's a nice boulder, right? There's all kind of stuff everywhere, and it's completely dry.
Yeah, so your feet aren't sinking in. I don't know about you, Jeff.
Right.
But have you ever had to walk on wet sand?
I have.
It's not easy.
No, and I mean their carts would have been stopped.
Which he did in a different way.
Absolutely.
But my point is the Israelites wouldn't have had a hard time crossing this.
Right.
because it's dry.
Absolutely.
Because if it
That's
was
what I'm talking about.
ground-
Israel went through with all of their baggage,
Oh yeah,
all their stuff.
parts, sure.
They're just moving along.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they're
Easy going.
millions of people going through this.
Keep in
area.
mind, we're told that their shoes didn't
Didn't wear out.
their clothing didn't wear out.
Right.
That would include this trip.
Absolutely.
So okay.
Yeah, this is amazing, guys.
So they went in the midst of the sea, in the middle of the sea, on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them, right hand and left hand.
Yeah.
I'm that guy too, Jeff.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
up there, dude.
I'm sitting there going, okay, if not, whatever. But there's another reason I think this. Okay, and I want to argue this as a proposed theory as proof. Okay. We see that when they get to Jericho, word has traveled
Yes.
of what has happened here.
And they see that.
Who saw it, Jeff?
Yeah.
For the word to travel.
Right.
Because they're not going to just trust the witness of the Hebrew.
No,
the Hebrews
it's
said
other
God
people
did.
seeing it.
Okay, so did some Egyptians pull back,
Yeah.
or are we looking at neighboring enemy?
I think that we're seeing neighboring
I think so
people
too.
here
Now,
because
if
words
you're
spread.
talking half a mile of water, that can be seen from such a distance.
Yeah.
You don't have to be close up on it to see that and go,
Oh,
"What the heck
okay.
is
No,
that?"
wait. It's taller than half. Half is just getting it to sea level. That's just cut
That's
out.
true. That's true. That's
It's
true. That's
standing
true.
it up.
That's cut out. Yeah.
It's standing it up.
Okay.
That's going to be seen for a lot longer.
Yeah. That's
What-
what I'm saying. They would see
what
it. You don't
would-
need binoculars.
What would the sound of that be like?
Oh, jeez. Oh,
Can we
jeez.
talk? What would that sound like?
Hey, do you think you'd actually see fish and stuff?
I think you would, dude. I think that'd be the coolest thing. I think you're walking through.
Oh,
You're a
man.
half a mile down. You're looking up. It's a half a mile.
Hey,
Yeah, if we're
breakfast.
yeah,
Use a grammar real quick. Breakfast.
there we go, man. It's an instant sushi right there. I mean, you're going down. You're looking at this stuff, and it's a long way up.
Oh man.
It's a long way up.
Oh man. I can't even.
It's a long way
I
up,
can't
dude.
even. I can't even, Jeff. I can't.
What faith is going on?
You gotta walk through that.
And you're
You
walking.
gotta walk through that.
You're
Jeff.
like
okay, you got dry ground. Okay, but
you're like you're
stepping.
you're like touching the ground. Okay, can we get through this? You know.
Yeah.
I was one of those grumblers a while ago. I'm like, I don't. Wow, look at this,
You're looking at that pass and you're going, man. Should I dart it across?
Yeah.
Should
Yeah.
I run across?
dude. Yeah,
All right,
Yeah,
love you,
we're-
honey. Bye.
yeah. We're,
you know what I'm saying?
we're
Like,
slapping and beat for boogie,
Oh,
popping the clutch
man.
and getting out of there. You know, but no, man. But how orderly. Millions of people
yeah,
with all their stuff,
yeah,
all of their stuff,
Yeah.
walking through this.
with ease, and there's room. We can see on that pass through where they
Yeah.
would have passed it. There was room.
There was room.
This was like the size of like a 4-lane highway or
On
bigger.
each
was
side
huge.
of the crossing was a big enough area for this people to camp.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay, so it came to pass that in the morning watch, Jeff. I'm just saying, Jeff. Okay.
Wow.
The Egyptians pursued, went in after them in the midst of the sea. So they got trust and faith too, apparently. Even all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch,
Wow.
I'm gonna say third day, first fruits.
Third day.
Where,
First
where,
fruits.
where later on the Levites would be doing the wave,
The wave
offering,
offering.
and praying and worshiping to Yah for a fall harvest.
A wave offering.
Wave offering, awesome, right? Okay, so while they'd be doing that, this
Yeah.
is the cross of the Red Sea,
Yeah.
Right?
This is it.
so
This is it.
okay, so it came to pass in the morning watch. You're talking early morning, right? And if it's morning watch, you're talking early,
Wow.
right? So we're talking early, but it's still technically in the morning.
Yeah.
As the sun's coming up, maybe,
Wow.
just like with the resurrection, as the
Sure,
sun's coming up
sure.
physically, the sun's coming up physically and spiritually and
Yeah.
metaphorically.
I like it.
Okay, so in the morning watch, Jehovah looked unto the host, man. Do you think they actually saw him look, or do you think he was just looking? Because if they saw anything,
Mm.
right, they wouldn't see the face of him. They would see but if there was any kind of representation whatsoever,
Yeah.
right? We had fire and water. Jeff, you had the bush,
Yeah.
fire and water. We talk about the cleansing,
Oh.
fire and water.
Oh, I'm
Jeff?
thinking of the fire and the water with the two baptisms.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if I told you, but I did a study on this on fire and water. You got the baptism,
Yeah.
you have the cleansing, that which
Yeah.
you clean by water, you do it, and if not, then you do it by fire.
Yeah.
Right. And so the world was destroyed by a flood.
Yeah.
And then it says Yeshua comes back with fire.
Yeah.
Water and fire, cleansing of the earth.
Israel
redoing.
is-
so with
Israel's
Exodus, we have
being-
a burning bush,
Yeah.
and now we've got water.
Israel's
Fire and
being
water.
immersed and baptized into water for life.
Yeah. Birthing canal.
Egypt is being baptized into,
Into
death.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So it came to pass, morning watch, Yahweh looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire. See, it says through the pillar of fire and cloud.
So is
So
he like,
I'm wondering,
peeking out?
dude, I'm wondering if they saw something that made them go like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you see that and you go, stop the
Well,
chariot, forget
they
this, I'm
saw
going home."
something. They saw something.
And it
guys.
troubled the host of the Egyptians.
Troubled them.
Mm,
Okay, can we just time out
you
for a
think they were
minute?
just like, oh, whatever?
Time out for a minute, right? We're Egyptians now.
Okay.
we've been going through these plagues. We finally got rid of these guys.
Yeah.
Our hearts are hard. We need to get our slaves back.
Right.
You know, maybe it's been a couple days.
Huh.
Maybe we were sipping a little too much wine.
Right.
Maybe this
I mean,
wasn't. Maybe this wasn't a supernatural thing.
It took a year to flatten the curve.
Yeah, you know, it took. I was watching Bill Nye, and he said, you know,
right. Yeah,
it's all just happened. You
each
know,
plague caused the other one. It had nothing to
it
do
had
with
nothing to do with God. Let's go get our slaves back.
Right.
We get down there. We've got this weird cloud and pillar of fire. Probably a natural phenomenon. Who knows? You know, I think I remember Grandma talking about something like that. But then this they're seeing this split,
And then you go in,
and we're going in. At what point do we have really messed up?
Right. Well, you see it, and it's splitting for the Israelites, but you say to yourself, well, these are the Egyptian gods finally showing their strength, right?
Oh,
because
that could be.
protected,
It could
right?
be.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, they've opened it up for us to go in and kill them, and we won't even have to bury them.
You talk about hardening of hearts, okay? You look at the book of Revelations, it says that the saints will be killed, and the people who are beheading them believe they're doing God a service.
That's right.
So I think that's what's going on here is you have the hardening of the heart so much, it's waxed so cold and so hard that they're not everything is in front of their face, literally as well as metaphorically, and it's just not. It's not taking. There's no light bulb, Jeff. They're just hard pressed and keep moving.
They got the blinders on. The target is inside. We've got the lock. We've got the beat. We're about to pull the trigger on them.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not gonna stop now.
No.
The commander's making orders.
We're almost to them.
Who do you fear? Obviously, it wasn't Yah, or else you would be on the other side.
I wouldn't have got in this thing.
Crossed with them earlier. With the other Egyptians that were with them. So obviously you're not fearing Yah.
Wow.
You're fearing the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
That's your God.
That's your God.
Right? Okay. And
That's
he's
your
with
boy.
you, so he's got you.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So it came to pass that in the morning watch. Okay, so they troubled them and took off their chariot wheels. Yah removed their chariot wheels. You ever have your tire pop and say, oh, that was God? I had that one.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I told you about that.
No.
Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
I had forgotten the timing. And as the sun was setting, I heard it's Atonement Day on your calendar. Why are you working right now? And as I heard that, my tire popped.
Boom.
As the sun was dropping, the beginning of.
Wow.
And so I couldn't work anymore. I was like, that's it.
Okay.
So and it wasn't one of those like, God, but it was like, oh, snap. He took the wheel off my chariot. You know
Father,
what I mean?
forgive me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't believe I forgot this.
Yeah.
So they drave them heavily. Look, they're still riding them.
They are.
Okay, think about the horses here.
They drave them heavily.
They're pulling them still, even
my
though
gosh.
so
Just get
dragging through that.
Dragging through.
Dude, those poor animals.
Yeah.
Okay, so they drove them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, "Let us flee." So now they're requesting it again, just like the mages. Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahovah fights for them against the Egyptians.
So
again,
so we're getting them. We're getting close, and then bam, our wheels fall off. We're like, turn this thing around. Turn around.
Forget it. Yeah.
Abort.
And Yahovah says to Moshe, "Stretch out thine hand over the sea," because they've already crossed now.
Yeah.
That the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots and upon their horsemen.
Oh.
And the phenomenon that was not a phenomenon, so naturally rather,
come on,
is now being controlled by the one who controlled it.
That's
and
amazing.
Moshe stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength. When the morning appeared, Jeff, is that the rising of the sun?
That's
Jeff?
it, brother.
Is this a resurrection and a first fruits reference right here?
It.
And the Egyptians fled against it, and Yahovah overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. They want to leave.
Yeah.
They're in the midst. They're in the middle, and they're trying to turn back.
Out.
I don't know if everybody's caught that, but they're trying to go back now.
The middle.
Forget it. I changed my mind. Too late.
Yeah.
Too late. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. It doesn't actually say Pharaoh himself, so that's to be debated. There remained not so much as one of them, though, right? That was in the midst. Yep. So did he stay back on the bank? Did he not go?
Yeah, if I remember right, Patterns of Exodus talks about this Pharaoh dying.
Okay. Well,
so I think
he died. One of them then.
I think he dies. I think he dies.
Commander goes down with the ship.
Yeah, I think he is leading the charge.
But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on the right hand and left hand. Again, look at it. Thus Yahovah saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore, washing up. Right?
Wow.
And Israel saw the great work which Yahovah did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared Yahovah and believed Yahovah and his servant Moshe.
Wow.
It's come full circle now from the beginning. You want to talk about journey? And this has been epic and exhaustive for us, and we've been gaining and learning. But look at this from the beginning. They bowed their heads in worship after crying out to Yah. Then Moshe goes and starts interceding.
Right.
And this is everything we've talked about, Jeff,
is growing.
And we've talked about so much.
Yeah.
We've talked about like
Wow.
27 hours.
Yeah.
Jeff, we talked about everything that we could imagine and think of about all the things going on in Egypt at this time through the eyes of the Egyptians, through the eyes of the Pharaoh, through the eyes of the Israelites, through the eyes of Moshe and Aharon, through the eyes of Yahovah, through the eyes of the
servants,
the Israelites afterwards, the servants, the foreigner, the stranger, the sojourner, those who are watching from abroad like Jericho, all the way to the descendants up to us now.
We're still watching it.
I know.
Wow.
You know, and so we're crossing Red Seas spiritually, getting ready for that Jordan River.
Yeah.
You know, and we can either choose to grumble and stay in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Or we can be staff in hand.
Get our staff, guys.
There you know, and move forward.
And it's not just a staff. It's literally, this is saying, I'm ready for my journey.
Yeah.
I'm no longer sitting on the sidelines. I'm going forward. And it's not necessarily a race. It's more of a marathon. I think people get the misunderstanding of what Paul says. You know, I finished my race. That was a marathon.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. It's walking every day in the Spirit.
Yeah. It's not learning, just you're moving forward. You're growing.
And as we're walking and we're going, we're slowly leaving more and more of Egypt behind. Egypt or Babylon or whichever version of the word you want to go with. And listen, it's a big deal to when they first see Moses trying in his own might to do
killing
the calling on his life, and they're like, "Who are you?" Till now, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they now know. There's no doubt. I mean, it took this whole time. How many times did Moshe say, and it happened?
Yes.
And they still end up doubting him later on.
They still
end up doubting him later on. But at this point where we're at,
yeah,
they're finally recognizing, okay, God is who he says he is.
Yeah.
He is the one who says, and it is so.
That's right.
He is the I am that I am.
That's right.
He's not just El Shaddai. He is Yahovah.
That's right.
They're catching on to these things.
Yeah.
And Moshe, that's his servant. There's no questioning it at this point. This is this.
Yeah.
And so the next chapter is the rejoicing, the song, the dance, the timbrel.
Well, and we see that song again. I think it's so cool that when Randa bought me that Torah scroll, that song is wrote as the indentions and the way that it's wrote on the Torah scroll. Super cool. I know that's not necessarily scripture or anything, but in the Torah scrolls, and when you read that, the Hebrews wrote showing that they passed through.
Yeah. The scrolling back, the pulling back. Sure.
It's awesome, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, man.
So
this is it.
What a thing, man.
I know, it's been a journey,
what
man.
A deal.
It's
what
like
a deal.
It's like you don't want it to end, but you're like, it's time for it to end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we've done a lot on this journey.
Yeah, we have.
This
has been good. This has been good.
Man, I mean, we're talking snakes and alligators. We're talking black magic and blood magic.
Right.
We're talking, was Moshe's basket placed strategically
rather
rather than
that.
floating?
Yeah.
We're talking the tribe in Moshe's hand at the burning bush.
A physical darkness that was representing spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Demons being loosed on these guys. Come on.
Oh man.
Oh.
There's so much. We could try to recap all we want, but we're not going to be able to.
Yeah, they lighting a fire, but there's no light. Come on.
Feeling it, maybe sleep paralysis type of vibe. You got the spiritual warfare.
Yeah, because they didn't move. They didn't move. Yeah.
You've got the animals going wild. You've got the dropping of the cattle on one side of the post, and the other side of the fence they're not. You've got light. These
cows that you're worshiping, falling over dead with
boils. I know it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many things. Yeah, a complete judgment, guys. And this is something that Yah is getting ready to do even more on a grander scale.
Hence the connection of Exodus and Revelation. Time and time again, you can compare the two almost tit for tat.
You really can. And it is amped up. We're here, we see it in a local situation. This is worldwide.
Yeah, man.
Worldwide.
Destruction of spiritual Egypt.
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah. And listen, there's parts on here that Yah is protecting his people, and he tells these agents that are going out to complete these tasks, do not touch my sealed. Do not touch mine. So guys, listen.
The plagues don't come upon those who have been sealed.
So
they have light, not darkness.
Look, guys, there was some judgment that began in the house of Yah at the very beginning of this.
But it was a lot lighter than the rest of the judgment.
And then after that, listen, it was on for judging the world. There's coming judgment in the house of Yah. And I think that we're already starting to see it.
Yeah.
I really think that we're already starting to see it. And listen, guys, embrace that judgment. Embrace it. Get it to a place where, you know what? Yes, Father, I did wrong. Forgive me. Cleanse me up. If there's some areas of my life that aren't correct, hey, I'm open to correction.
Yeah.
The Bible says he corrects those he loves.
Yeah. Help me step over and through the threshold rather than on.
Yes, we don't want to step on the threshold. Man, that's a man.
I know. I love that threshold one.
Oh, I'm down on that.
That's the Father through another student, and I looked at other students' notebooks. Jeff.
Sure.
I get nothing on this, but it was an amazing.
That's a great
point. It was one of my favorites out of the whole series.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, should we open up to questions and things? I mean, we did real low, which is amazing. We can go eat and hang out and stuff. Do you want to do one of your Afiko men? Did you want to talk about picking one of the items, or do you want to leave it be? It's fine with me either way, Jeff.
Yeah. Should we give away?
Don't do the mug.
Don't do the mug.
No, don't do the mug right now. The mug's special.
I
mean, unless you really want to do the mug for the live chat. It's your call.
We'll do something. What do you want to do? What do you want to do for?
Well, we have your book.
Yeah.
We have the mugs. Yeah. I've got other books and DVDs. We've got some shirts and things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm up to throw in whatever you want me to throw in.
Yeah.
Whatever you're thinking.
Yeah. Let's see.
Is there any requests in the chat? We're talking about possibly doing one of the giveaways right now for the live chat only.
Not the patterns of evidence.
Okay.
Not that one, and then not the cups.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm open. In fact, I can even give you another book if we want to do a couple books, but I only brought one.
Is there any calls, any requests in the live chat? We're talking about possibly doing. We called it an afikoman in the sense of like you get an early reward in the midst of Pesach is what we're getting at there. Yeah.
Hey, there's Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, shalom, brother.
Any requests? Any requests? They're quiet, Jeff. I don't know. Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe they don't want to. I don't know.
Free stuff, guys.
All I know is I'm hungry, man.
Karen,
I'm ready to hang out.
She said I wanted the patterns of evidence.
You don't own it, Karen? You don't own it?
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised too.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Karen? Have you seen the patterns of evidence? The Moses controversy one was.
That's really good too.
Surprisingly, really well done.
I love it because they get into talking about how Hebrew is actually the first alphabet.
Oh, dude. Don't get me
it.
Started on the earliest menorah.
Yes.
The site for the sacrificing, the gold cap. I mean, they do an amazing job on that. But proving that Moshe actually wrote the Pentateuch. Yeah. Come on now, Jeff. That is argued by, so even rabbis don't want to believe that anymore.
Well, you know what?
Nobody wants to believe that anymore.
Yeshua.
The scripture said Moshe wrote it, but they don't want to believe it.
Scriptures say Moshe wrote it, and Yeshua says that they're the books of Moshe.
I know it. I'm fine with Moshe having had somebody physically pen as he speaks to them, walking back and forth in his tent. That's still Moshe writing in my mind.
Absolutely.
But this understanding of Moshe having orally said it and then they wrote it so much time later. Why say Moshe wrote it then?
Right.
You know, the scripture literally says it, Jeff.
Yeah, it does.
It literally. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not gonna not break bread with somebody who believes Moshe. Heiser believes Moshe didn't write it. You know, he talks about how the arguments for pros and cons on both sides.
He thinks they borrowed some of it from the Sumerians.
Oh, he's got a lot of different. He's got a lot of smart stuff though. I don't know. Some of my notes for this series came from Heiser.
Yeah,
I agreed with. I disagreed with.
Where he believes that, I see that God is coming on the record and correcting the Sumerian text. Yeah, that's what I see.
I believe there are some things added, like Ramses, the name.
Sure.
Went back in and added that, and that would have been after.
And we know
Heiser was like, well, you would have to believe that was added in later, and if that's the case, then you would have had to believe the whole thing was written. And I was like, no. Why would you have to believe the whole thing is written later?
I would
just
say
for a couple of words changed out.
I would say that
location.
years later they're like, man, no one knows where Avaris is.
Where is Avaris?
No one knows where Goshen is anymore. Hey, you know what?
It's underground, and we can't even prove it anymore.
They know where Ramses is at, right? We'll put that down, right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we had Karen was really hoping for the patterns of evidence. But we have the Mitzi, I think it was, said that we should do your book. She was like, let's do the book. I think she has a better chance now. All right. She's in the live chat now. I'm thinking maybe that's what she was thinking there.
So how do we want to do this?
Okay, so you like to just give things away and have people guess numbers, Jeff.
I do.
I know, Jeff. You're so loving and soft, and I am not.
You make them work for it.
I do.
You make them work for it.
I am not Jeff.
We did this on my program, and he asked this question, and I'm like, man, no one's going to get this, right? And it was just like crickets, just crickets.
Oh, what?
And we were like,
I think we should do. I think we should do. There's been 7 videos.
yeah,
I say we do 7 questions. First one to get the question for each one gets a point. Most points gets it.
all right,
What do you think?
sure.
Should I go get a piece of paper, or can we tabulate this without a piece of paper? Do I need a?
I can do it on my phone. How about we do it?
Okay. Okay. So first video. What should be the question for the first video?
Oh gosh.
It's got to be something that was like in our video that you wouldn't. I know. So you should prepare this ahead of time.
This would have been way better prepared.
You're
You're making it hard on us.
I thought. I know. I thought about doing the list, and then I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
My sister came into town yesterday, and I've just been enjoying the company and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so let's see. We can. Should I mute it? We can ask about the.
Hang on. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on, guys. We're going to do a brief commercial break. All right, guys.
Okay, question number 1. First one to answer in the live chat gets the point.
Yeah. Who went with Moshe and Aharon before Pharaoh?
First one to get it. Man, I don't know what book did you mention about the Deuteronomy prophecy? That was Chad Schaefer's book. That's part of the giveaway. It's the World Under Bondage of Egypt. It's a very big book. Chad Schaefer was actually planning on doing I'll leave it be. I'm not going to even say it.
Oh,
Mitzi's got the
Mitzi!
point.
Oh,
Mitzi wants the book, man.
Oh, I think we got
Mitzi wants the book. Oh, Karen got it first.
Karen
Oh, I saw Mitzi first, but Karen got it first. Okay. Unless we give them both points, because that was like simultaneous.
that was simultaneously.
Should we give them a tied point on that? They each get a point?
Yeah, I'm giving a point each.
Okay, Karen gets a point. Mitzi gets a point. Because that came so fast, we don't know. It shows Karen first, but it seems like it was at the same time. So we're gonna do things Jeff's soft, lovey, firstling lamb style.
Absolutely.
Where you want to hug it and love it and things like that. Because that's how Jeff is.
That's it, brother.
Okay. So video 2. Video 2 was the persecution video.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So we mute it again.
We're muted again, guys.
Sorry.
No reading on.
Okay.
Question number 2, guys.
Question number 2 for the persecution, the number 2 video of this study. What were the arguments, or at least what was the main argument that we had come to an agreement on, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much on the reasoning of Moshe not, when he mentioned having issues with speaking with Yah at the burning bush, how did we perceive that? What was our number 1 argument of reasoning.
Yeah.
I'm butchering this question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did it mean that Moshe said he was struggling with the wording?
I want to talk, but I think you give it away, so I'm trying not to. You know how I am. Yeah.
And we're both like that.
Here's the answer.
Right. Next point. Who's got it? What was the reasoning? They're like, man, I gotta type. Somebody's sitting there trying to type fast with their thumbs on their phone. You think Karen or Mitzi right now are like, oh, okay. Mitzi says he was unwilling. That's true. He was unwilling. But what was the main reasoning?
There was
an when he said that he was hard of speech or something like that. Let's go back here. It was in, if it's the second video, it would have been in 3, right?
4.
3. Well, 3 and 4, I think, because we had to go back to this, didn't we? Maybe it was 4. Let's see. Oh, I think you're right. I think it was 4. Hold on. Yeah, he said, "What's in your hand?" Yeah, he said. So verse 10. I'm not eloquent, neither heretofore nor since has spoken unto my servant. I'm slow of speech and a slow tongue. And we had discussed different reasons as to what that meant. And we came to an agreement of what that meant using verses in the end of the book of the Bible showing that it's not what people often argue. So we discussed many of the options, but what was the number one? That's not here yet. He was unwilling, but that wasn't the main of what's being.
We discussed stuttering.
Stuttering is one of the main beliefs, but that wasn't the one that we pushed the hardest.
Yeah.
Not a public speaker, again, is something that we discussed, but not the main reason, nor was the no confidence. So all the answers in the chat is not the main one that we pushed. You didn't remember the language. We discussed that as well, but that wasn't the main one.
Yeah.
There was one main thing that we had argued that we seemed to think that this was most likely. Yeah. Karen's like, I don't remember. I know. That's the part of pop quizzes.
Pop quiz, guys. Here we go.
Go through all the arguments. See, if we'd asked them about the staff turning into, they would have known right on the bat like that. There would be no trying. If we had asked what the staff meant in tribe, somebody would have got that right away. But this is making them think. We're making them think.
That's it.
In the second video, we had proposed a theory that when Moshe said
he was of a slow tongue,
speech and slow tongue,
that
it meant it was most likely meaning something specific. And this is something that I haven't seen argued in any other video. No. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I've never seen it. So this wasn't something borrowed. We didn't get this off of other.
I want to go to because I think
it was 4 verse 10.
Yeah, I think it may help with.
You're gonna give them hints.
No, I think I'm gonna give them. Why does this not want to do this?
We might have to ask another question if they're not able to remember this.
Chapter 4, right, verse 10.
I wonder if this is going to make anybody actually go back and rewatch now. Like, man, apparently I missed stuff. Because we brought up so much stuff, it's hard not to miss stuff.
Yeah. Well, I thought the MEV
especially if you put it in double speed. I don't know if anybody else did that.
Yeah, I was thinking it may have said it different.
Aaron was still in the environment. Yeah, that has to do with the eloquence of the language and the understanding of the Egyptian language. And we brought that up, and these are all great factors. Not being a public speaker, I would argue that in later scripture we see that he was a public speaker. And stuttering, I would argue, as we did, that later in the book it shows that he was mighty in words and in deeds. So we were arguing that it wasn't a stuttering, it wasn't a speech impediment, it wasn't a lack of confidence, it wasn't having to do with the loss of the language of Egyptian.
All right, guys, you're fixing to lose your chance to answer this question. What was it?
I know, we might have to ask him another question.
Yeah.
Moshe was educated, so come on, says Kelly Joe. Well, these are all good points. I'm not.
No, we're not discounting any of these
academics
points.
Take these points and a lot of them choose one and stick with it. So these aren't. I don't want anybody in the chat to think that we're saying that that's stupid or whatever. We're leaning towards a specific direction that we had mentioned and discussed.
Yeah, and it was
in that second video.
While acknowledging it could have been a culmination of all of these.
And it very well could have been.
Yeah.
Right, but it seems to me this one is most likely.
Yeah.
And we really try to push that. Apparently, we didn't emphasize it enough. Yeah, I'm agreeing that a general over armies didn't stutter.
Absolutely.
Man, they're just not remembering it.
Right.
And Karen's like, you're making me think I did miss parts. Karen, it's over 24 hours of video footage, and we crammed so much.
We did, yeah.
I think Jeff and I missed some of our own stuff.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Have you listened back on any of the videos?
I have.
I did a little bit, and I was like, dang, there's so much.
Wow, there's so much to unpack.
Did it have to do with the Meribah Kadesh? No.
Nope.
No, it didn't. No. I mean, overall, the main issue was that Moshe wasn't willing. That was the main issue. But that's not what he was getting at when he says, I'm slow
Right.
tongue, slow speech. He wasn't saying, I'm not willing. He said that after. Well, I'm not willing. And that's when
Right.
you see Yah get angry. So that's not the situation. Should we just get the answer?
Let's
or
get
should,
the.
or should we make them go back and look for it? And we'll just ask another question.
No. We'll give the
You want to
answer.
give it away?
I'll give the answer.
Oh,
Give the
they might go back and rewatch. Maybe they'll learn something else too.
All right.
There's so much stuff.
Okay.
I say
So-
if you don't remember,
You know what?
don't get it.
You missed
You have
it.
to
You
go back.
missed the chance to answer for
But
part 2.
Karen's rolling her eyes and shaking her head at me.
All right. So let's go to
She might go back to it. All right, now we got to mute it again and come up with another question.
another mute. Here we go, guys. Just talk amongst yourselves. All right, guys. So here we go. We've got
and nobody's guessed it yet still. There's still some guesses and it's still wrong.
Part 2, guys, to this question. So we're skipping that question, and we're going to go. What was the quote from the? Help me remember the name. Admonitions
Of a sage.
of a Sage. What was the quote that this guy wrote that when you drank
Of the
water
that
turned to blood, what happened?
Yeah. The admonitions of the sage, the Ipawar text. Somebody in this live chat actually wrote about this in their comments. Watch them go back and look now.
Right.
Hey, if they can find it, there's
Admonitions of a Sage. What happened to you if you drank the water that turned to blood?
And Josephus' writings also echoed the same sentiment.
Yep.
We're
Mitzi's got it.
They lost their humanity. Mitzi got it.
Boom.
Boom.
There we
2
go.
points for Mitzi.
All right,
I remember. Did you remember? Did you go back? Did you go back and look? Did you go back and look at your own comment? Man, Mitzi's fighting for it.
Yeah.
This is great. She's like, I'm gonna get a free book.
All right.
Karen says she wrote about it as well.
Okay, guys.
There's so many comments.
We're gonna pause. We're gonna go to hang on. I got a
video 3 here.
Video 3. Be ready for it. All right, guys, here we go. This is for the third installment on this series. There was a spiritual gift that Moshe operated in when he was dealing with Pharaoh with the plague of the water turning to blood. Just need to know which spiritual gift he operated in.
Yep. Jeff brought up a very specific, often dismissed, not recognized or acknowledged gift that Moshe was operating in. So this would have stuck out if you had watched it in the sense of like, oh snap, nobody ever talks about that.
Right.
Because I remember thinking that too. I was like, I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have brought that to the table. That's a Jeff contribution, if any.
Right.
Man, that's where you're like, boom, and I'm like, where are you even coming from with this? Like, what the heck, man?
Yeah. I always forget there's like a
lag,
10 or 15
pause.
second delay. Yeah, probably some more too with other folks because they, their connection speed.
Third day in the morning, dude.
Dude, this is nice. Yeah, so Karen's guessing prophecy. Joy is saying a gift of the Holy Spirit. Excellent guesses, but not correct.
Paro in Hebrew means the mouth that reveals.
Yes, nice.
So second born redeeming firstborn. Adam and second Adam.
There we go.
Esau and Jacob.
Yeah.
Cain and Seth.
Wow.
Right?
Hmm.
Reuben and Joseph.
Gosh, there's so much to this, guys.
Ishmael and Isaac.
Yeah.
Manasseh and Ephraim. Second born redeeming firstborn.
Second born.
Levite and firstborn.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that second Adam and first
Yeah.
Adam. It literally refers to
Yeah.
Yeshua as the second Adam.
That is right.
You know, so
Wow.
because you have to, and Staley goes into this, you have to go back and cover from the very beginning fall.
Right.
So it's not about like where it says, covering each, you have to go right back
All
to
the way
where
to
it
the very
started.
beginning of it.
So you have a first Adam and a second Adam, and the
Wow.
second Adam redeemed that firstborn.
Right.
That first Adam, if you will. Even though Yeshua was from before.
Right. Mitzi is guessing gifts of healing. That is not correct.
Healing, Holy Spirit, prophecy. These are all spiritual gifts, and we do see Moshe working in those.
Absolutely.
Healing with the hand,
Mhm.
and you definitely see the Spirit, and you definitely see prophecy. And this would probably be closer to prophecy than anything.
Yeah.
That hints. I'm doing a Jeff here, and I'm
Trying
hinting.
to, guys. Yeah. Yeah.
We might have to go to another question.
Yeah, I know. We're trying, guys.
This is gonna make people go back. They're like, man,
Yeah.
there's so much. Though.
There's so much into this,
so
guys.
fair.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Even for you and I trying to think of all the things. I don't know if you've had moments in the past few weeks.
Oh, I
I've
have.
sat there and like I'll go back to look at the comments because I've been trying to.
Yeah.
And there's a couple comments, guys. If you've put them that I haven't responded, I know that there's like 2 or 3 that I'm still going to respond to.
Right.
So just because I haven't yet doesn't mean I'm not going to. I do plan on trying to reach all the comments as best as I can that I feel led to respond to, and that's pretty much all of them except for maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and we're gonna count up comments and stuff because that's gonna be part of the giveaway as well.
It will.
And for first bracket, first picks are going to be based on those who have
Every one of them.
gone through all of them.
Yeah.
And there's not very many of those.
Yeah. It's a gift. One of the gifts of this. One of the 9.
We watched and listened.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you can watch and listen and catch like a lot of it. So
it was one of the 9 gifts of the Spirit that Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians, and Moshe was operating in this specific gift during the plague of blood.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say any more about it or I give it away.
We see it other times as well, but I think that might have been the first time where you see.
Yeah. Obvious.
And where you had mentioned it in that
I
video.
almost said it. I literally almost said it.
I believe you. I believe you, Jeff. I do. I believe you.
Oh, really close.
Damn.
Karen C was the closest one. Should we just give this away?
No, we should do another question. I know we got to.
All right.
Should we move to another question real quick?
Let's mute it.
Self-control, miracles. Man, they're just throwing out.
Just go down the list, right?
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah.
Hey, whatever.
Right.
Okay, so next question. We're no longer on that other one. You missed your shot on that.
Yep.
Okay, we came to a neat conclusion as to what it meant that God had built houses for the midwives.
Yeah.
And I think it was in this video that we finally mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because the first video we were like, hey, we missed it, and the second one we were like, oh, we missed it, but we don't know what it is, and then the third one we're like, hey,
This is what it is.
So what is it? What is it? What is it that we brought up in the third video?
Yeah.
That was being possibly talked about in the terms of God built houses for the midwives. What was the conclusion that we had emphasized there? First one to get it.
Phone is about to die. Plug in.
Man, they are quiet in the chat, Jeff. Gave them families. Mitzi's got it.
Mitzi's got it.
Man, Mitzi's running in charge here. She is.
That's awesome. All right, Mitzi's got another point, guys.
She got 2 or 3 points by
She's
now.
3 now. Yep.
Mitzi's at 3. One more than that. That's basically a win for her. We
That's
wouldn't
it.
even have to do all 7.
Yep.
Golly, y'all need to get on it if you're gonna stop
All right.
Mitzi.
All right, guys. We're gonna pause. We gotta mute it.
And
We
pick the next one.
almost gave it away, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Fourth video. Here we go. Fourth video. What did the ashes represent?
When they were thrown up in the air.
Throwing up the ashes. What did the ashes represent?
And we talked about that for a good minute.
We
That
did.
That was a fun topic.
That was a
to
fun.
talk
Yeah.
about.
This
Dude, this
is one of my favorite. This was one of
Yeah.
my favorite
Yeah.
videos to go back. Man,
I know.
there is so
Okay,
much in this
So I'm
in this
surprised.
fourth
Out of
video.
all the videos, I think that was my favorite. No, Swarms is what it brought. We're asking what it represented.
Yeah. What did the
We're trying to
ashes?
get that book, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Dead babies.
dead babies.
Dead babies. Okay. I mean that's
I
pretty
can
much
take
it.
that. I
Okay,
can
so
take
we
that.
were talking about the human sacrifice and the furnaces, and the human sacrifices of the Egyptians and how they probably would have represented the innocent death of Israelites and things like this.
Yep.
And so the ashes being thrown up in the air, that Moshe was told to do to bring forth, was it the lice?
Yeah.
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 The
gnats.
gnats, lice, however you want to,
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was a human sacrifice.
Right.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a blessing, but God turned it into a curse.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, because they would throw it up.
Great
with
job,
blessings.
Lynn Hobbs, all the way in Karnak, Texas, where she lives. Karnak.
Stopping Mitzi from her.
That's right.
From her touchdown.
It is.
Come on,
It is
Mitzi.
on. Mitzi was like ready to spike the ball, man. She was ready. All right.
Okay, we're gonna mute it and go to the next video.
That's just fun.
Okay, next question for the giveaway, the live giveaway that we're doing. Iris is like, you guys are on mute. What's going on? We're
The fifth video.
fifth video. This would have been the most viewed video out of the whole series so far.
Over 1,100 views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so first one to mention two things that we mentioned in the fifth video associated with the darkness.
Plague of
The
darkness.
plague of darkness. First one to mention two things that we brought up. You get extra points in my book if you bring up something that we brought up in that video that you wouldn't normally see elsewhere. Because there was a lot of things that we mentioned.
We did.
You know, so yeah, I mean, there's some basic stuff that everybody mentions, but then there's some stuff that we mentioned that's not very basic.
Right.
First one to bring up two
At
things,
least two.
At least two. And so if you do it at the same time as somebody else and you got three and the other one's got two, you get the point.
Boom.
So maybe write more.
Maybe three. Maybe three. There we go. Plague of darkness. Some things that we talked about with the plague of darkness. Gosh, we even mentioned some of that today.
I know it.
Yeah.
So all they had to do was pay attention.
Just pay attention today.
Yeah. And there were so many things. I feel like Jeff right now. I want to list them out. Jeff, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, dude,
yeah. No. Yeah.
Associated.
Yeah. Shalom, Iris. Good to see you.
It's not too late, Iris. You can get in on the competition.
Yeah.
If you've watched the other videos, we're asking sleep paralysis, scared stiff. That's one.
That's one.
That's one.
You got to have at least two.
Felt presence and not knowing how long it would last.
Oh, that's two right there.
Man, Lynn's coming in.
Woo!
Mitzi, you got to be on it.
Oh,
catching up.
Lynn Hobbs, you go. Go.
Okay. So we're gonna have to mute and go to yeah, we knew what you meant. That was long last. Okay, so we're gonna go into the next video.
Video number 6, guys. We'll be right back. All right.
Okay. I can only think of one. I need to work on my memory. Oh, Karen, she's like, I really want this book. We're still doing the giveaway. If you don't win the giveaway for today,
this is a
still all
special.
kinds of
This
stuff.
is an extra giveaway.
And Karen, you've commented quite a lot, so you're going to be in the giveaway. Your name will be in there for my sister to draw and stuff like that. I can't promise who's going to get it and who's not, but we're doing multiple giveaways.
Yeah.
So it's not first time, first go, and that's it.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff to do for giveaways. Okay, so for the 6th video, this is from last week, right? That we did, or was it?
It was
last week it was
Sunday. Last Sunday. Yeah.
Right, okay. So we finished up the tying up of the Pesach meal and stuff like that, and we talked about many topics. First one to remember what an individual is called for keeping the 14th day of Aviv for Pesach rather than moving to the Roman Catholicized Easter.
Yeah.
There was a title that was given them for being adamant on the 14th. Keep in mind, the argument at that time for the first couple hundred years AD, the 2nd century AD, that arguments that were really referencing here was like 120, 125 AD, somewhere in there.
Yep.
There was an argument of timing. That's all that was being argued.
Just
it wasn't
timing.
About traditions or anything.
How you celebrate
the Catholic
it?
Church wanted
Nothing.
it on the Sunday after the full moon of the
basically
equinox.
the spring equinox.
Right.
And there were some that wanted to keep it on this certain time and they the Roman Catholics named them something.
Right.
This is a tough one.
They were given a name. So first one to remember that, and if not, we'll go to another question. So we have a question in the chat that says, Parable of the Vineyard says Pesach was the 17th. And Zen Garcia says it was last month. Any help? So here's the thing. If you're new to this, and if that's why you're a little confused, there are many calendar versions, many calendar interpretations. A lot of it comes down to when the beginning of a month is and when the beginning of a day is. Nope, it's not Natsarim or Keepers of the Way. Keep going, Missy.
This was a term by the Roman Catholics given to people
who kept the 14th.
Who kept the 14th. Man,
so
massive.
So things. Yeah, I know. You can't put it any clearer. The 14th by the Roman Latin Catholic Church. Okay, that's all I could. That's as easy as I can give it. Okay. Yeah. So if you're very new to this, there's arguments on when a month starts,
Yeah.
right? There, it seems that the scripture is saying that a month, using the same word for month and moon, would be a new moon. But then the
Yeah.
argument is, what is a new moon? Is it a sliver? Is it conjunction? Some
Right.
people now believe it's a full moon. So they weren't just called Jews, although they were lumped in as Jew sympathizers.
Yeah.
And then the Catholic Church really pushed that. By the time they got to the Council of Nicaea, they were saying
They were
in
very
325, they said if you do the 14th of Passover, and if you keep it the way the Bible says and not Sunday that is now known as Easter,
right.
If you don't do that, then you can't be a part of us. We want nothing to do with you. We won't dine with you. You're
Right.
not allowed in our churches, and you're no longer considered a believer.
Excommunicated.
Yeah, and it's not just that though. Like you're considered a Jew, and they were goofy. So there's many differing views on the calendar interpretations.
Big hint, guys. They kept the 14th day.
Yeah, 14th. So Zach, for your question, there's many differing views. You fall in the same category as me, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff and I both agree on sliver and evening to evening. Thus would be putting the 14th of Aviv starting last night, ending as the sun drops tonight. So the Pesach meal would be tonight. There it is.
Boom, Karen. There we go.
Decimals. Did you look it up, Karen?
Nice.
Did you look it up? Decimals.
Well, this is getting tight. We may have to do bonus questions.
We'll figure it out. Okay, so the next question would be from today. From today's thing.
Oh gosh! So if you're just tuning in, you may have missed some of this.
Yep. Okay.
All right, we're muting, guys. We'll be right back.
All right. Did you want to ask or you want me to?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so from today's video
number
watching live.
This is number seven, which is the number of completion.
Yeah.
There we go, guys.
Yeah,
there we go.
And Karen's like, I was late. What did we tie in to the crossing of the Red Sea in terms of timing and Yah's appointed days and times? There was a specific timing tie-in that we did with the as a proposed theory for the crossing of the Red Sea. Oh, did I already?
No, you didn't. I'm just asking, can you say that? Would that give it away?
No, you can say that word. As long as we don't say what. First fruits, Karen got it. Woo! Karen got it. So yeah, Zach, if you have any questions, we talk a little bit about timing and calendars on the Pesach video. If you go into the series and you go back 2 videos, we talk a little bit about that, about months and things like that.
Tie.
We have a tie between Karen and Mitzi. Okay, so do we do a tiebreaker? Do we do 2 giveaway items?
Let's do 2 giveaway items.
You're such a softie.
I am.
Jeff. You're such a softie.
Okay. Do you want to do a tiebreaker?
Kind of.
Tiebreaker.
You want to do the tiebreaker?
Tiebreaker.
Okay, we got to come up with a question.
All right.
Okay, all right. Oh, I think I know what it is.
All right, guys. Tiebreaker. We'll be right back.
Okay, you want to do it?
Yeah. Tiebreaker, guys. Here it is. Now, anybody can answer. If Lynn Hobbs gets this, it's a 3-way tie.
Oh, jeez.
Tiebreaker question. Anybody can answer, guys. How old was Moshe when he came before Pharaoh? How old was Moshe when he came before Pharaoh?
Now I gotta make sure we get this, because I now I gotta find it just so we can. Okay. Because all right, where was it that said that? Maybe it was before this, but that's how old he would have been. Where was it that was mentioned? Oh yeah, I'm not even looking at the chat.
I'm looking at the chat. No one's got it
I'm
yet.
trying to find the verse.
No one's got it yet.
This was Jeff. Jeff decided to be sneaky with this question, because there's a little bit of a up the sleeve on this. Yeah, here it is, right here. I found it.
Yeah.
There it is. When they spoke to Pharaoh.
Yep.
So there it is. Yeah.
All right, guys, here we go. Come on, Karen C. Mitzi both guessed 80, and you are incorrect.
How old was Moshe when he spoke before Pharaoh? According to Scripture. No, it's not 80.
Yep.
I understand why you're thinking 80, and you're probably thinking that we got this wrong. Mitzi's like, I'm just gonna keep going up.
Yep.
Sooner or later, someone's gonna get it.
Someone's going to get it, guys.
81, 70, 31. Nope. I'm hard to learn, so here I am gonna watch the videos. Thanks. Yeah, Zach, this is a heavy series. This is the ending of the series.
Yeah.
There's 7 videos, and a lot of them are 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Some of them over 4 hours.
Almost 5.
That might sound intense, but I mean, we go through so much.
A lot of detail, guys.
In those videos, that I think you would gain a lot in
No correct answer yet, by the way.
Yeah, 88, 40, 82,
Gosh.
31, 70,
45.
45. No, there's
a verse.
We know that Moshe's life is broken up into 40-year segments, and that's why everybody thought 80. And that's why I said just being sneaky here, because that is where your mind's going to naturally go to.
Where my mind would go.
Because that's when he would have started going towards.
Right.
That's when he would have been with the bush on fire.
Right.
But we actually.
Oh, we have a winner. Watch. Comes up.
Mitzi got it. Mitzi got it. She kept going up one. She's like, sooner or later. Okay, so for anybody who thinks that we might be making this up or guessing,
Yep.
Exodus 7, verse 7 says Moshe was fourscore years old, and Aaron 83. Did we ask for Moshe or Aaron? Because it was Aaron who would have been 83.
Was it Aaron?
It was Aaron.
Oh,
Did we say Moshe or Aaron?
I think I said Moshe.
Oh, we were thinking 83 for Aaron, though.
Was it Aaron?
That's kind of bogus. That's kind of bogus that we did that.
Oh, we did. Didn't we? Oh, you know what? Okay,
so it would have been 80.
So we have Mitzi and Karen C getting it correct.
That's true.
They were the first.
80, but Mitzi got the answer that we were looking for.
So, but
you wanted to give them both a
no.
Anyways.
Hey, they both answered 80 at the same time. So both of them are at 4.
So we were thinking Aaron, but we said Moshe.
We did say, I meant to say Aaron.
And we kept thinking Aaron.
Yeah. There we go, guys.
That's what we get for trying to be sneaky.
We're trying to be sneaky, guys.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So Mitzi and Karen, you need to give us your information. Karen, you can get it to me privately in an email. Mitzi, you've got us on Facebook, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So you can send us a message and stuff like that, and we're just going to need some address information.
Yep.
And Moshe was 80, Aaron was 83. But Karen and Mitzi, you guys win the free book giveaway of Jeff's books that he's so kindly putting out there free for it. So you get to read his book and stuff like that. And there's some pretty cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable.
That's exciting, man. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the book I brought here.
Mm-hmm.
Have both of these ladies get with me, and I will when I get back home, I will send them out.
Okay, and then I'll send the other one with the other giveaways.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Man, this has been fun.
Yeah, man.
This has been so fun.
This was a good ending.
This was really good.
And we did it, and this might be the shortest video.
I think this is the shortest video.
Oh man.
Hey, but it's been a lot of good stuff. It has been eye-opening because we've considered so many things that most people just breeze right through.
And the chat brought stuff to our attention.
Oh, absolutely.
And whether we agreed or disagreed, we got to see different views.
A lot of different views.
Discuss all the different views, and we really hatched through just about everything that we could, Jeff. There was a couple things that Jeff and I said, man, we would need 4 hours on this topic.
There was a genealogy that we just said no, we're not doing.
We didn't go through the travels of location points.
Right.
And we could have discussed, because we're familiar with those things, and we could have did that, but that would have been a whole video dedicated to just that.
Right.
And why do that when the Discover Crew is doing that?
Right.
And we can just
Absolutely.
patterns of evidence and things like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're brand new and you missed the other videos, I would strongly suggest
beginning.
prayerfully considering going through the whole thing.
And you
if
can
you
do
watch
it
all the way through. Yeah, watch it in segments. Do whatever you gotta do.
Don't think that you gotta.
Whether you're new or not, if I was listening in, and I had the chance to go back to me and say, oh, you should have did this, it would be have a pen, paper, notepad, highlighters, have your Bible, get ready to pause on videos, get ready to play back, get ready to go back, and take notes and things, and some of these videos are long.
They're long.
I've listened to some very long videos, but I don't know if I would have listened to one of our videos, the ones that are close to 5 hours in one segment. I don't know. My hat's off to you guys, literally.
Honestly, so a lot of the comments were like, I didn't realize how much time had gone past.
Yeah.
And listen,
so apparently we didn't drag feet.
I'm just going to say, I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but that's the anointing.
That was Yah?
When the anointing of Yah is on something, it doesn't seem long. So praise Yah.
Well, I'm glad you guys joined us. This has been a journey. Jeff and I, almost every video, we're like, man, that was, I hope you guys gained at least half as much as we did from this, because we really thoroughly enjoyed this study. And we could have did the videos without a live chat and we would have gained from it, but we gained from you guys in the live chat. Those of you who've been joining the live chat and those of you that have been commenting, man, there's been some heartwarming, nice things, but there has been some deep stuff. There's been some things that people have talked about that they no longer have unnecessary burdens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yah has opened doors and enlightened eyes and enlightened burdens and paths through this series, Jeff.
Yeah.
And only the Father could do that. It's been
people are getting delivered out of this.
There's been some.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be emotional, Jeff.
I guarantee you, there people are. I believe for some people that are watching this series, the Bible has become alive. It's not just a story. We're going through and showing the human aspect of it, not only from God's people's side, but also from the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And man, it's to me, it's eye opening. We
went through. That was a fun study.
This was great.
This was very.
And I got to come down.
I know,
this
man.
Is great, brother. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. On that note, I'm gonna let y'all go because I want to go hang out with Jeff now. Because he came over and we talked about some things and we got the grill ready for the lamb. Yeah. And the hen house downstairs, we're taking care of all the food for us. Yeah. And
we're about to go feast,
preparing
guys.
all the food and stuff like that. My children, surprisingly, have been like really well behaved the whole time. They've been quiet. My son's off playing by himself.
Kinsley
the dog's even been.
My dog's here, guys, and she's been having a great time.
I tell you, I prayed for shalom and anointing in the house, and I've been feeling it. So I hope your Pesach, if you already did it, was anointed and that you were blessed. If you haven't done it, if you're doing it like we are this weekend, I hope that you are blessed and given shalom and anointing, and that whatever you watched in this series and whatever you gain from it, that the Yah brings that to your mind and in your heart and blesses you and guides you in your Pesach meal and makes it come alive in a way that is according to his will, so that he gets across to you what he wants to get across to you in that meal, so that you feel that shalom, so you feel that depth, so that you have those conversations and you're not just going through the motions, you're not just doing communion, but you are doing true communion. And you're not just eating lamb or no lamb at your Pesach meal, but you are comprehending what it meant then, what it means now, what it means for the future. So that you are looking at all of these things, and that you get, and hopefully that this series, especially if you're having a Pesach meal with those who haven't watched the series, now you've got questions and topics. You can say, hey, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Did you know that there's Egyptian deities tied to every single plague? Did you know that it says that Yah actually judged the gods of Egypt? All these different things that we've met. Whatever comes to mind, let the Spirit guide you and bless you and give you shalom. Question: can you fast on Shabbat? You can fast during Shabbat if it doesn't start during Shabbat. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother thing. But I don't know if you stand different on that. But from what I understand, according to scriptures, you shouldn't be starting a fast on Shabbat. And outside of Yom Kippur, I would say don't do it on a holy feast.
It's a feast.
I've seen people do this, Jeff. We talked about this before, that they're so wrapped up in the legalism, and these are the ones that are so excited to tell you how much they fast and how often and how perfect they are at it.
They're missing the point.
I got rid of all the leaven. I got rid of all the fermentation. And not saying that just because you do those things that's who you are, okay? Because we've had people comment things, and I'm not saying that's who they are. I don't know. I don't know them that well, so I can't say either way. I'm just saying, where was I going with this?
Let your boasting be in Yah, not in what you do.
Right. You don't want to be doing the things, but I've seen people say,
do those
asked me
things.
years ago, they said, can I fast during Pesach? Because that's when God really want me to truly do this. Talk about stopping at the green light. Yah tells you to have a feast, and that's when you choose not to eat. I'm sorry, Jeff, but as it seems to me, like, you can fast before or after. Choosing to that's like a religious spirit that is not of Yah.
It is.
You're glorying in your flesh and
That's
not of Yah.
absolutely right.
And I'm fasting on a feast. That's how holy I am, Jeff.
And
Yah told you to feast.
If you're in a fast, no one should know but you. Maybe your spouse.
Yeah, it says anoint your head. You're not supposed to look like you're fasting.
Don't smell, don't stink, don't go around boasting that you're fasting.
Right. This is something that you should try to
trim your seats and make that private.
You have like 3-day, 7-day fast, so that it would go past Shabbat, and we see this in Scripture.
Sure.
Daniel fasted for it would have been through a Shabbat, but from what I can tell, Scripture literally tells us don't start it on Shabbat. This is supposed to be a time of rest. You don't want to be starting a fast. If it's going to go through it, if that's how you feel, so be it. But I would say personally, and again, seek Yah on it, but if you're going to ask me, I would say don't do it on a feast day. This is a feast, unless it's Yom Kippur.
And if Yah is leading you to do it, let that be between you and Yah.
Yeah, don't go around telling everybody else to do it. Don't be demanding them to do. You do as you're led to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amen. Hallelujah.
This has been good. Let's go hang out, man.
All right. Hey, shalom, guys. Lila Tov, and this has been great today.
This is awesome. This is good. Yeah,
this is good. All right. Shalom, guys. See you later.
Love to you. Shalom. May Yah bless you and keep you. May He guide you. May He make His face shine upon you and give you true shalom. Draw nigh to Him, and He will draw nigh to you.
Honeni Elohim. Honeni Elohim.